As you walk through the valley of the shadow of hell, you will realize that there is something ahead. Something that lurks behind the dark veil. A veil that is beyond our own comprehension. Beyond the void.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void
Horror
Podcast.
That's right, we're back, and there's some new voices, sort of, in the room now, or at least the combination of voices. We've got Patrick back this week, and of course, Britni's here. So,
Woo!
And I'm your dildo for tonight.
And Alex is here too.
And we'll be teaching you how to make your own homemade mayonnaise today.
Yay!
With
White
Kool-Aid
people things.
packets.
Are we going to do like
Kool-Aid
variants
packets.
of Miracle Whip too? Because I love Miracle Whip.
I love Miracle Whip too.
Dude, not a lot of people do.
I'm not a fan.
It's weird.
I'll eat it, but
love
yeah,
it.
I like eggs.
Hey, it has eggs.
I know, it's basically
Does
the
it?
same.
We just don't know what the tangy zip comes from. It could be from like babies
Children's
for all we know.
tears.
Yeah,
That's
there we
from
go.
Carl's semen.
Maybe unicorn.
He's a busy
tears.
boy.
Carl from Aqua Teen?
No,
Who
what?
are you talking about? Who's
I'm
Carl?
just saying Carl from the factory who's jizzing in cups. And
Oh, okay. I was like, who the fuck is Carl?
It's really made by pre-semen. That's why they call it Miracle Whip.
Pre-cum.
Oh,
That's what gets you pregnant.
there we go.
Anyway, guys, today's episode is episode 126, and today we're going to be going down the Critters franchise hole by starting it off with Critters and Critters 2, the main course. So we're drinking beer, which I shouldn't be doing, but whatever. Fuck it. Live dangerously.
I instigated the whole situation.
Yeah, thank you for bringing all the delicious, cheap beer.
I wanted a drink anyway, so this is fine.
We're
Thanks.
drinking the champagne of beers today, guys, so celebration isn't in order.
It's like, is it
talking
Miller
about
High Life?
celebrations. Hey, it's Warble's birthday today, everybody.
Oh, happy birthday.
He's 38.
Oh, that old fuck.
Yeah. Hey, he's older
That's
than me.
really
so.
fucking old, dude. Just fucking around.
So happy birthday, Warble.
Yeah, you old piece of shit.
Happy birthday.
You know he doesn't listen
I don't
anyway.
think
so-
you're
He
old.
doesn't. You know, he's like, did you guys mention me in the last podcast? I was like, yeah, we talked shit for like a half an hour.
Yeah.
Oh, what podcast was it? Which episode? I was like, I don't know. You'll have to listen to like the last 10, I guess.
Yeah, that's how you get him in, Patrick. Good,
Yeah, you
good
gotta
job,
reel
man.
him
To
in
listen to them
somehow.
all.
Yeah, I always get people that always ask me, like, so what did you think of this movie? And I'm like, well, you'll have to listen to the podcast. to find out.
Which episode?
You've done that to
Yes.
me, dude.
Yeah, because I'm like, fuck that shit. I'm not fucking playing that game. I put too much goddamn work into this.
He takes his shit cereal.
But yeah, if you're not listening, you're an asshole. So welcome to the party, the
Yeah.
cool kids party. But
Are we doing news today?
yeah, no, we're not doing news today because it's going to be a long episode, I have a feeling. But we do oftentimes come across some coincidences in the show, and one of our buddies at the Terrible Terror podcast is actually going to be doing a Critters episode, just the part 1. We're going to be doing 1 and 2 today, so if you guys want to check that out, just check out Terrible Terror podcast on any of the iTunes, anywhere you want to go, and listen to that episode. Much love, Brian, and hopefully we'll keep it under 2 hours this week, so...
Yeah, because I got to get home and play some Apex Legends.
Oh,
okay?
of course. Yeah, that's more important, Patrick.
Yeah.
Than creating something with your friend.
This is beautiful.
Your fucking friend. Dude, you know what's funny is like when Britni and I were sitting here, because she was here at like 4:45, I think. And like,
Okay,
and
so
then
this
so
is where
like-
you bust my balls?
yeah. this
Should I
is-
put my balls up on the table?
yeah, well, because I know you well enough.
All right.
But
go
I was
ahead.
like, okay. I was like, I don't know if he's left yet. I bet you he left at like 5. So we were like, maybe.
440.
And then I was
5.
like, you know, the way to check is to go to his Xbox account and see when he was last logged in. And I was like, this This is how I do it. I was like, he just signed out 29 minutes ago. So he left at least a quarter till before 5. I knew it. You're an Xbox junkie.
Dude, the Apex Predator, it came out of nowhere. And it struck us all.
Apex Predator?
Oh, Apex Legends Predator. I don't know where that came from.
It's a game, Britni.
I figured.
Anyway, so how have you guys been? It's everything been going pretty good other than video games and drinking beer right now. You guys doing good?
Yeah, I bought a new truck. You just saw it.
Yeah, that's right. Man. You got the Tacoma.
Nice.
Toyota Tacoma.
You fucking terrorist. Well, yeah, it's
Is that the one that has the cool step into the bed or whatever that converts to like 5 different ways?
Oh no, this is like an older one. It's like 2008.
flatbed, yeah. But it looks fancy.
Yeah.
It smells new.
I like trucks.
Yeah, it doesn't have any Arizona pinstripes.
Okay.
You know what those are, right?
No.
That's where you get pinstripes from taking your truck out into the desert and getting all that roughed up from the bushes.
That makes sense.
What about you, Britni? How are you doing? What's going on with you? Anything new?
No.
You're feeling better. You got to spend time with your mom.
I know that was brief as fuck, Brittany. Come on.
No.
Fluff it a little bit.
You hung out with your mom?
Fluff it
Hello?
I did. My mom was here for a couple weeks, so that was nice.
Yeah.
I took her to a fancy Italian dinner yesterday.
Oh, where?
Cristo's.
Is it good?
Yeah, I
Fuck
don't think I've ever heard of it.
I like Italian
Mouse and I
food,
go
but
there for our Italian food. Yeah.
we eat
We go there for our anniversary.
I was going to say, like, where's this going? I blow Italian
Nowhere.
dudes there.
I blow Italian dudes there. Like, so does Mouse. Like, we tag team the kitchen staff. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, Dutch rudder like you've never seen.
Yeah.
He's like holding them around.
I like to wrap the spaghetti noodles like around their dicks and then just slip it all the way off.
Jesus.
Oh, Jesus. Talk about Lady and the Tramp.
Stuffing pierogies in their ass. Sorry.
Thanks for that.
It'd probably go somewhere else because it's got like cottage cheese sort of thing, doesn't it?
No,
You think
pierogies
you're
are
thinking
filled
cannolis.
with potatoes, bro.
No, like
You're thinking of a cannoli.
Okay, no, because my I have Polish ancestry, and my uncle was always making poor man's pierogies, which is like cutting up onions
And potatoes.
No. You mix it in with.
Let me just ask you this.
How about I tell you what
what's
it
cheaper
is?
than potatoes, dude?
Well, let me just tell you how he made it,
All right.
and then you can
Then I'll
shit
shit
all
on
over
it
it. Yeah, there you
afterwards.
go.
Okay.
Anyway, he would take like the shells, you know what I mean, or any kind of like pasta, cook up the pasta till it was soft, and then put in onions and butter, and then he would take a thing of cottage cheese and put it in there and mix it all together. And that's called poor man's pierogies.
Yeah, that's like one of those.
Weird.
What do they call those?
It's actually really good, but I mean,
I have a bunch of those recipes from my grandma. They're like depression meals. Things that they
Comfort
made during
food.
Depression, the cheaper
they're
kind of
like,
kill me
anyway.
depression.
Anyway, so I think it might be that time.
Oh shit.
Horrorshots! So I couldn't think of a really clever name for this one, but I thought, when the critters in the movie die, they have like greenish blood, right? In all of the movies that we've seen thus far. Mm-hmm. So I figured we'd take just a simple shot called Critter Guts and call it that. And this is what it is. It's a creamy drink. It's a 1 ounce of Caruva Horchata cream liqueur, which is make it look kind of white, right? And then you put in 1 ounce, so it's 1 ounce of the horchata cream liqueur, then your 1 ounce of Creme DeMinth to give it that green. You got to put this all in a shaker, by the way, with ice because it's not going to taste right. And then 1 ounce of vodka. This will make 3 shots for you guys, or an extra shot for somebody if you only have 2 people. But yeah, that is a Critter Guts. I thought it would be okay. I was trying to be clever, but
Where'd the gut parts come in? Anything with
guinea pig will work.
little entrails.
Guinea pig.
that's dark.
I prefer small
But
children.
I actually don't think that this would taste that bad.
No, it sounds like to me, which is what I thought of the whole time watching the second movie, is like a really weird Cadbury cream egg.
Right, yeah. We tried to do that. Remember when Christina tried to make something like that?
Yeah.
But guys, if you would like to try Critter Guts, and all you have to do is go to Long Live the Void to check out our hashtag Horrorshots section now. That's it for Horrorshots. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and jump into our flesh and potatoes of Critters and
Critters 2.
Right now.
Okay, guys, so we're going to kick it off in order, with Critters 1, which are just called Critters. Came out in 1986, and the story is a group of small, furry aliens make lunch out of the locals in a farming town. Aww. It's also directed by, and also written, sort of. He kind of polished the story of Dominic Muir's original screenplay, but it's directed by Stephen Herrick, who is the director of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Don't Tell Mom.
Stallions.
Yeah. Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
I love that movie.
The Mighty Ducks, Mr. Holland's Opus, and The Three Musketeers, amongst many others. Dominic Mears actually wrote the original screenplay. He wrote a lot of films that you probably would not expect. One that I think Patrick will probably be excited about. Some that are my favorite Jet Li films, by the way, like The New Legend of Shaolin.
Ooh.
Do you remember that one? That's the one where he has the son that travels with him.
Right.
And he does the bow staff.
Mm-hmm.
That one's sick. And I did not know that he wrote that. I'm like blown away by that. Fucking great movie. If you guys like Asian Kung Fu, sort of like, like crazy flicks that are just funny and entertaining all the way through, that's a high recommendation right there.
Or any Wu-Tang Collection movie.
Dude, that kid kicks so much ass in that movie. Like, it's really good. But he also did a movie called High Risk, another film with Jet Li, Doll Graveyard, The Ginger Dead Man, Evil Bong 1, 2, and 3, Skull Heads, Puppet Master, Axis of Evil, Ginger Dead Man versus Evil Bong. So he definitely jumped in to the Full Moon movies shortly after.
Was it Tommy Chung in those movies?
Yes.
Was he in all of them or just the first one?
Yeah, he's like the guy that comes in kind of like in House, the House movie, or like House 2, where the guy from Cheers comes in and like he's like an adventurer / plumber or an electrician. But he's kind of like that guy. He's like the high guy that tells them the tale of the evil bong or whatever, I believe. It's been a while. Some of the special effects and creature design is done by none other than the Chiodo brothers, who are essentially responsible for bringing the critters to life. They are considered to be the father of the critters in general. Charles, Edward, and Stephen Chiodo. Although Charles is mainly responsible for most of the special effects, but all of them work on those, by the way, so they all have their hand in it. Some of them do like direction, production, and also special effects and stuff, but they're super creative guys. They're the guys that actually directed The Killer Clowns from Outer Space, notorious and great movie in my opinion. They also, it was directed by Stephen Chiodo and written by his other brothers. They do just about everything, though. So it's like I said, they are just like Renaissance men in the film industry. They worked on the entire Critters franchise, by the way. They also did Ernest Scared Stupid, which makes sense with the creature effect in that in particular. They did work on Team America.
Fuck yeah.
Night of the Little Dead, and obviously the return of the Killer Clowns from Outer Space that was announced just last year.
Yep.
Some of the stars in this movie are Dee Wallace, of course. She plays Helen Brown, or the mom. She was in The Howling, of course, because we can't seem to shake this goddamn franchise.
We do lots of Dee Wallace movies.
It was not intentionally.
It's never intentional, but
yeah.
we've done a lot of movies with Dee
she's
Wallace
done a
in
lot.
it.
And she was also in E.T., The Hills Have Eyes, the original, Red Christmas, Cujo, Murder, She Wrote TV show, I had to point out, by the way, because that always seems to be everybody in the horror industry seems to work there at some point in time if they're old enough. It also stars M. Emmett Walsh, who is Sheriff Harv. He was in Blade Runner, The Jerk, Missing in Action, Fletch, Back to School, Harry and the Hendersons, Red Scorpion, Cops and Robertsons, Free Willy 2, and Wild Wild West, and many more. Also stars Billy Green Bush, which I really have to find out if that's true.
I'm a child.
You're me both, okay? But he goes by Jay Brown in the movie. He's otherwise known as Dad. He was in the movie The Hitcher, Jason Goes to Hell, and a bunch of TV and movie westerns. That's what he's primarily famous for in his early days. A lot of stuff I wasn't real familiar with. A lot of TV shows, just one-offs and stuff. It also stars Scott Grimes, who plays Brad Brown. He's the main star of the movie. He's the voice Steve in American Dad. He's in the show Orville, The Orville, as Lieutenant Gordon Malloy.
I fucking love that show, by the way. Have
So
you
does
watched
Mouse.
it?
A movie I also own that he did, Scott Grimes did, called Nightlife. It's only on VHS. I wonder if they're ever going to bring that to Blu-ray. If you guys know anything about that, let us know. We should review that, by the way, sometime. He was also in the show Good Behavior with Sherman Hemsley of the Jeffersons. It was a lot of episodes, I think like 22 episodes. He was also in the 2010 Robin Hood and the Justified TV show, Scott Grimes. Also stars Don Keith Opper, who plays Charlie in the movie, one of the beloved characters of the franchise, I would say. He's the brother of Barry Opper, who actually produced this movie, and he's in all the Critters except Part 3, which is the Leonardo
Wait, are you
DiCaprio.
sure about that? I thought those two were in all 4 of them.
Nope, just the next guy I'll mention. But he was also in Android, which is the movie they made before Critters. He was also in a movie called Black Moon Rising, Ghost in the Machine, and a movie called Invasion, a.k.a. Infection, which I believe is an asteroid movie. Pretty weird. Terrence Mann was in this movie. He played Johnny Steele. He did the entire Critters franchise, apparently. I don't know if he's just in some of the, what happened segments in one of the movies or something like that, because I don't remember him being a big facet in Part 3, if I recall correctly. But he was also in Sense8, the TV show, which you watched, apparently.
No, I know he's in it. I
Yeah.
haven't watched it.
He was also in The Blacklist. He plays himself in Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. He's been in a ton of Broadway. Actually, that's where he's actually got his start, and he wanted to take on fucking horror movies, and he didn't treat it like he was slumming, is what they called it. So I thought that was pretty cool. He was also in a movie called Solar Babies, which Patrick might remember, and Big Top Pee-wee, of course.
I remember Big Top. I don't remember Solar Baby.
I remember Solar Babies.
And you're talking about Terrence Mann, yeah.
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 Also, it stars Lynn Shay, who plays Sal or Sally. She's the leading, psychic in the Insidious franchise. She's also in There's Something About Mary, Kingpin, The Final Wish, Ouija, and Ouija Origin of Evil, The Midnight Man, Abattoir, Tales of Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, and many, many, many
A
more.
lot of shit.
She's been around forever, and she has always been true to horror.
Yeah,
so
she's primarily a horror actress.
even if you hate some of the movies that she's been in, you have to respect her for that. Also has a small cameo by Billy Zane. This is, I believe, one of the biggest roles he had.
I fucking love Billy Zane.
He was in, he's plays Steve, the boyfriend in this one. He was obviously in Demon Knight. He was in Back to Future 1 and 2 as one of the, I think he was the guy wearing the glasses. He was one of the goons for the
he
bullies.
didn't have a major role.
So this movie was his big one. The Phantom, Titanic, Zoolander, Blood Rain, The Mad, and more.
I think he's mostly known for Titanic, really.
Probably. I don't know. He was
No.
pretty big when he did The Phantom.
Every time both Mouse and I went, that's the asshole from Titanic.
It's a terrible movie, The Phantom, but the Titanic, yeah I do remember him pretty.
You talking about Billy Zane?
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
Demon
Billy
Knight is
Zane.
just
Demon
amazing.
Night. Yeah,
Hell
dude.
yeah.
That is one of the best movies he's
Well,
ever
I guess
done.
people who aren't into horror, yeah.
Right.
When you think Billy Zane, you just think Titanic.
Probably. The budget for this movie says it was about $3 million, although I heard it was less than that, about $2 million. It made about $13.2 million at the box office in the United States. So, how do we want to do this? Who wants to go first on their thoughts?
I don't care. I'll
Go ahead,
last.
Britni.
Well, you can't not like these movies, to be honest, I feel like. They're not the best, but they're fun. They're entertaining.
Have you seen these before?
I had seen the first one.
What's your earliest memory of the Critters franchise?
When I first saw it?
Yeah.
I was a kid.
Yeah, how
so
young?
it's the same kind of when I saw Gremlins.
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
probably 10 or 11-ish when I saw them. And I thought they were cute. They were cuter than the Gremlins because they're all evil with their red eyes.
Right.
And I wanted one because I thought Gremlins were kind of dumb, but I don't know.
It's
Maybe I'm
hypocrisy, man.
There's a funny story on
Maybe
that,
I'm
by
just
the way.
mean and I wanted a mean little animal that was going to eat everybody. But
Well, who doesn't
Gremlins
like
are
that?
too, but they're mostly sweet. Unless you feed them past midnight or get them wet.
Even then, they're kind of silly. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So,
Well, honestly, I watching them now. I prefer Gremlins over Critters,
of course.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
but
Oh, yeah.
It's the
it's
better
just
movie.
a better structured movie.
Right.
But I did enjoy this a lot. I like the fact that they went more frightening with the
Sure.
creatures, or they tried to. At least I'll give them that. It's not one of the greatest movies of all time, but I feel like we're all creature films. This is one of those that you kind of it's one you need to watch.
Don't you fucking shit on this movie, Britni.
I'm not going to.
You shit on my
I
childhood.
won't. At least these two, but I don't know about 3 and 4. I can't tell you.
Oh yeah,
So.
well,
Do it.
It's gonna be a trip down. Yeah.
Well, it was cool to see Scott Grimes. It's cool to see Billy Zane. It's cool to see, and I can never remember her name, Lynn.
Yeah.
You know, the guy that plays the sheriff, I really like him too. There's a lot of people in this movie.
Yeah.
Almost everybody is a recognizable character.
And they're all
right off the
strong
bat.
characters.
They
too.
are. They're all strong characters. Like, they do a really good job. Like, and that's one of the things is, like, this is a pretty strong movie, like, on its own. It's silly and, you know, it's ridiculous, but it's still pretty well done overall. So it's not one of those films that you're just like bored throughout the entire thing, and it kind of stands a test of time at any point. So it's like, you know, you can see it back when it was released in the 80s, or you can see it now and it's still fun. And it's definitely
it's an 80s film.
it's an 80s
for sure.
movie.
Yeah, for sure.
It definitely is, but it's not like you can't watch it now and just be totally taken out of that because it's an 80s movie.
Right.
Where there's a lot of 80s movies where you can go, ugh.
It's just, you know,
It should have stayed in the 80s and never fucking left. You know what I mean? Like,
it's fascinating to me for kids these days that have never seen these movies that I grew up on, and like what their reaction is. I'd probably want to punch most of them for you know what I mean?
Well, because they're gonna think it's stupid.
Right, but you know what I mean? Like kids that are really young, like I wonder, you know, how they feel about it, if they like it and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, because it is like very borderline, like not for kids. It's like one of those, for me as a kid, it was like one of those
This
movies
is more like,
that you like kind of were able to watch because your
Yeah.
parents were like, well, this
Right.
isn't
this
as
is more
bad.
like teenager to like adult, like older teenager to
Right,
adult. I
sure.
feel like it's not a kids movie.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I was never scared of shit like this when I was a kid. Just like I wasn't scared of Chucky or any of that stuff. Like I only
Right.
had one movie that ever fucking like tormented me, and it wasn't even a scary movie.
Really?
So that's
Just
fun.
an irrational fear kind of thing.
Kind of. It was. I think it was like stems from like how I had to watch it, and then it just like weirded me out. But now it's like one of my favorite movies. So, but like as a kid, I had nightmares, like
It's like
fucking night terrors, like recurring night
Well,
terrors.
you got to say what it is now. Is it
Oh.
like a pool movie or like
No.
they're playing pool? No.
No, Mars Attacks.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember you saying
Oh,
that.
you're young.
Absolutely fucking terrified. And
I
I
know.
saw
How
it
old
like
are you
when
again?
28.
Okay.
But I saw it when it came out. Like it had been like out of theaters and stuff. Like it had been. Yeah. I fucking love them. Like now, I'm like, this is the greatest shit ever. It's so fucking cute.
let's not get
and
carried
it's
away
fun,
here.
But
Right.
I hated it. Like it fucking fucked my life up for a long time. Movies you would expect to fuck you up as a kid when you see, like, this could be one of those as a little kid you see. And
Right.
you're just like, oh, like a cute fuzzy creature is gonna rip my fucking head off. Like, then shoot porcupine quills at me and they're gonna fuck me up.
So you compare this to Little Things, pretty much, is what you're saying, and it didn't really affect you when you were younger. But
No, like when I saw, I mean, I was an older kid too. I was like 10 or 11 probably when I saw this. So I feel like if I would have seen it at a younger age, that it probably would have stuck with me a little bit differently.
it was a high renter at my house.
Yeah.
So what about you, Patrick? What did you think of the first movie?
It was good. You know, when I watched it, I definitely remember that I remember the second one more than I remember the first one.
Okay.
But it's definitely, it stands the test of time. It's still a good, like, you know, funny little movie you can watch with your friends. I don't know if family friendly is the right word for it.
I mean, it is in some
I mean,
degrees.
If I had kids, I'd show them.
It is
Right.
more than the second one. We'll
I'd
get
rather
into
show
that.
them this
Right.
and like Gremlins and like other shit that I watched when I was a kid.
I think Gremlins is fine.
Gremlins, I feel like is more family friendly a little bit too, but
Gremlins had the song too. I think
Yeah.
you know the Power of the Night's cool.
well, it has the cute one.
Power of the night.
Yeah,
but-
it has the cute one though that carries on throughout the whole like
Gang, gang,
yeah,
gang,
whatever that
gang,
one's
gang.
fucking name is.
Oh, Gizmo?
Gizmo. There it is. Thank you.
Yeah.
That wasn't that fucking what's his name? Howie Mandel. Yeah, Howie Mandel.
Yes, Howie Mandel
voiced
did the
Gizmo.
voice. Yeah.
And it's the same voice. Him and Bobby from Bobby's World and whatever other character he fucking voiced. It's the same voice, different octave.
Oh, he's always a famous comedian.
Yeah.
So, like, what would you guys give it a score of, like, if you had to? Like, compared to the old days, not to today.
Not to like today's standard.
Yeah, like, compared to the
I'd probably,
80s.
I'd probably still give it like a 6.5.
Really? Okay. What about you, Patrick?
I was going to say 7.
Really? I'd give it an 8, like,
Yeah,
for
it-
80s.
It was more
Because it
nostalgic,
is
I
a
think, for
bigger
you guys.
budget 80s movie to me.
Yeah.
Like, it has all the right
But
elements.
I think to me back then, if I was doing the shit that I'm doing now, even though you wouldn't be able to do that back
You
in the
would've loved
80s, no,
You
I
would've
wouldn't
just
have.
made
I'd be like,
mixtapes.
no, it's just copying off of Gremlins. Fuck this movie. You know what I mean?
Well, a lot of people said that, and I'll just spill some of the trivia now before I get into my thoughts. But it was written long before Gremlins actually came out. So there was like some trivia, and I'll get into that.
That may be true, but Gremlins did it better.
Right. Well, whatever. You know, it was like when I tell you why he came up with the idea, you'll be like, oh, okay, that doesn't sound anything like Gremlins.
Okay.
So,
I think they're different.
Yeah, I think they're definitely different.
Oh, they're definitely different.
Yeah.
I mean, but they're also very similar.
Like the same little cute-ish killer creatures.
Right,
kind
and
of
they're
deal.
all doing silly shit like they're humans.
Yeah, breaking toys and eating E.T.'s head.
For me, just like having small creatures in a horror movie that's kind of like leaning towards like kids in a way, it was huge for me. Like I loved the Munchies, I loved Critters franchise, I loved Gremlins, I loved even like Puppet Master later on, and like I just loved little things like that because I think somewhere deep inside of me I was a little afraid of little things under my bed.
Right.
Or in my closet or whatever the fuck it is.
No
And not
one
everybody is scared of little things like that. But for a lot of kids, like dolls and toys are this beloved thing, and like the worst thing for a child is to have those turn bad. And like, you know what I mean? And so just little things in general, I think for kids was scary. But for me, I was deeply in love with the Critters franchise right off the bat. It was one of those movies I always asked my dad to fucking rent. I remember pretty clearly. I think I do remember part 2 like you, Patrick, just a little bit more because I was a little bit older and probably my memory was better. But it was kind of like border horror with like a fun tone that I think a lot of kids my age sort of resonated with at the time. Even adults, I think, also really enjoyed it too, even though they thought it was just some fun, kitschy thing. But there were so many moving parts to this film that it wasn't just like a little creature flick. It actually had heart. It had the ability to be more than just a small home invaded by space creatures kind of movie. It blew the doors off in that department and added bounty hunters from an off-planet too. But not just any bounty hunters, but ones that could change their appearance at will to anything they saw, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah.
That adds such an element of depth to me in that movie. Had it just been critters attacking, kind of like what I remember part 3 to be, I don't know. Like I know that they're in the third one too, but the bounty hunters thing is really cool. And the twist on it that they're not just these stupid fucking ravenous creatures that attack, but they're actually criminals on an off-world planet on an asteroid, by the way. Mm-hmm. Asteroid Sector 13, whatever the fuck it was. It kind of reminds me a lot of like Night of the Creeps, how the beginning of that movie starts off.
I was going to say that actually.
Yeah.
That's cool you brought that up.
And I really like that kind of Fred Decker-esque feel to it. I love that like weird, wild sci-fi horror element to it. It's just something about it is just really fascinating for me. But you know, it just added a whole other element for me, so it stands out that way. And of course, obviously, the critters, I didn't want to leave them in the shadows. They were really fucking cool, and they were really small. They were big. They were all over the fucking place. And the legendary Kyoto brothers, which I had no idea years ago when I was a kid that this would be the same people that made Killer Clowns from Outer Space, you know, because we didn't really have access to that shit. But it may have said it on the screen, but when you're a kid, you don't think about that shit.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to it.
But, you know, just the fact that they're attached to it for me, that like really strikes a chord with me. The critters in themselves, they would like eat and eat and eat and like wreak havoc, very much like you said, like gremlins all over the place. And they even talk to each other. So like, it's just this mindless creatures. They're just like having conversations, which I just fucking loved. Like when he cusses on the fucking,
the best.
In that part, when I was a kid, I loved that. And adults loved it too. They talk about it in the extras or whatever. But I don't know, it just all came together, kicked off a pretty decent little franchise. If you're kind of like an 80s kid, these are ones you would always rent, in my opinion, at the store. And at least for me, you know, anytime you saw them on cable, I watched them all the time. Like anytime they were on, I would be like, oh yeah, like I'd watch it. So I was probably Cinemax or something like that. I don't know. Oh, and watching these Blu-rays, by the way, was a real treat. Like I have never seen these movies look that good. Like, I've always seen it on, like, VHS or some shitty copy or whatever. So it's not, like, my favorite franchise ever, but it was a very big nostalgia trip for me. I think if you haven't really seen these, I think you really should if you enjoy the 80s at all. I think it's one of the more... It's not mainstream, it's more underground, but it's somewhere in between mainstream and underground, like that this movie falls in its popularity. Scott Grimes, I thought, really worked well for the movie as a kid. He was like really smart, and it made me feel like I wanted to be that kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, something about him.
He's like brave too.
Right. Like how would you deal with it as a kid? It just, like, I don't know, vicariously watching him on the screen made me feel like I wanted to be that in control. Because, like, there's a scene in the movie where he's like, Dad, I'm going to go fucking save everybody. And there's no way I would have ever done that shit. But Dee Wallace definitely owns her part. You know, she's the strong mom that teeters on tough and susceptible. That's like where she shines the most in almost every movie. You know, she's really susceptible, but she steps up to the plate every fucking time. And that's what's really great about Dee Wallace. Plus, Charlie in the movie, the character Charlie, is just endearing for some reason.
Oh, yeah.
And
Like
they talk about it
lovable.
in the extras a lot, but like for me, when I was a kid, I just thought he was so cool. Like it's a kid, it's an adult that gets what a kid thinks, because he's not like what a lot of kids think when they're growing up is like, well, I'm not part of that club. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right,
They either want to be a part of it or they're misunderstood by it. So, like, Charlie's like that in-between liaison, you know, for that world. And I just thought that was really cool. So he was like one of my favorite things in the movie, too. But Christina watched this for the first time, which was really great. She kept saying she loved the set designs, like a whole bunch. She was like really into it. She loved all the like beady red eyes of the creatures and shit.
It's cool.
She even said she'd watch this again for sure. We
Yeah.
watched both part 1 and
It's a
2.
fun movie.
She said she's into like horror comedies like a lot.
So
Like
am I.
really silly ones.
Right.
So like she thought, I was like, this is like probably perfect for her. So she was like, oh, I'd watch these again. Because where I'm always like looking for like new films to watch, she's like the tried and true classic. But I don't know. There is some trivia on this though that I thought I'd share with you guys. There's quite a lot. I tried to just pick some of my favorite stuff, so it's not going to be everything. Dominic Muir actually wrote the Critters franchise long before the Gremlins at the age of 19. And because Gremlins was such a huge mega hit in the theaters, it actually helped him sell his script.
That makes sense.
Because he had it sitting there for a while. And when that movie blew up, Joe Dante did his thing. So
People are like, oh, people will buy into this shit.
right, and
do
they did, and they like took it, and they were like, hey, actually, this isn't too bad. But his earliest concept for making this script and a screenplay was that he wanted to make an alien movie that was more than just aliens, but that they were also criminals, like I mentioned, and that he loved westerns as a kid. So the idea of bounty hunters came up, so they wrote that into the script, which I think without them personally, I think this movie would have just been another movie. Like, I think it adds. Also, in the original first draft, it was actually really dark and super fucking gory. Like, he said it was like a hard R. And it was going to be, and this is a PG-13 movie, guys, so you would think that they wouldn't have as much as they do in this movie, but it seems like the ratings have changed these days.
I think it's probably just PG-13 because they say fuck once.
You might be right. They had to trim it down quite a bit, but...
And the cow's kind of gory, too, I guess, that they...
Yeah, but they don't really
But it's
show
not
it.
really-
Yeah,
yeah.
not a lot. They show the skull a little bit.
They show the laying down on the ground and
Yeah,
stuff.
there's not really any like gore or anything, but so it's most likely just got the PG-13 because the gremlins say fuck. So you don't, and you read it. too.
Right, yeah. Also, Don Opper modeled Charlie, the character, after Buster Keaton.
Really?
Because he had this clumsy sort of indecision of choice, he called it. Like, not sure which way he was going. So you can kind of tell that it is very... He said it was very intentional that he wanted to try to pretend to make Charlie to be like very much like Buster Keaton. So I thought that was really cool because he's you know, he's not like the biggest actor that you'll ever meet, but I thought what he did for Charlie was perfect. Like, even though he's kind of dark because he's like fucking drinking all the time, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, dude.
He's like a fucking alcoholic. Like, calm down, dude. Also, in some of the trivia that I got here is that the Johnny Steele character that Ugg played, that Terrence Mann actually played the role of, was one of the bounty hunters. And originally they wanted to have Billy Idol play him.
Fucking sweet.
Really?
Right? Like, isn't that
That
crazy?
would have been awesome.
And
Yeah, there's no way he would have done that, though.
Dominic Muir was telling the story about it, and he said that the people that were in charge were like, yeah, but do you really want to deal with all of that?
Right.
Like, he's kind of a pain to work with, I've heard, or something like that.
You'd be like, yeah, I do.
I'm paraphrasing. I don't know exactly what it was, but he said, do you really want to deal with that? But they ended up working out with Terrence Mann, and I think it worked out pretty good.
Oh, yeah, I definitely like the song that he made for the movie.
It probably would have been really bad acting from no offense from fucking like him always doing the mouth thing, but they wanted a rocker, you know what I mean?
Right. Power of the night.
Right. The Kyoto brothers, who did the creature effects and everything, made them roll. That was their idea, but Dominic Muir was the reason that they looked the way that they did. So he had created the creatures long before he wrote the movie. So he had an idea of what they looked like, so that when he wrote the movie, it would make sense. So he didn't have to go back and do it. But originally they. Huh?
I like that they roll.
Yeah. I thought that was a really cool touch that the Kyoto brothers did, but they didn't even have arms.
Yeah, they're like weird little tumbleweeds.
Yeah, he said that they wanted to make them look like they were really friendly up close, but when they opened their mouth, it was just like nothing but rows of teeth.
Yeah, it's
Right.
accurate.
So, which I always thought was really cool. So, but they also made them run in the movie. They made it a point to make them run, because one of them said that, one of the things I didn't see in the Gremlins was I never saw one of them run. Like, you heard their footsteps and stuff like that, but you never saw them run, so they kind of had one run, which looks kind of silly.
Yeah.
It was
Well,
interesting.
some of those practical effects would work out very well, though.
Oh, fuck yeah, they did, dude. The house that they made for the movie, which they blew up, like, insanely big, like, was one of the biggest fucking explosions I think I've ever seen. We'll get into that when we go through the thing, but that was, like, all, like, fake. It was all fake house, but they built everything with, like, a wall on one side.
Yeah.
There was a scene in the movie, by the way, guys, if you don't know this or don't have the Blu-rays or whatever, but there was a scene that a critter jumped into Billy Zane's character Steve's stomach, and it burrows inside of him, and they were supposed to have it in there, but the MPAA cut it out. And they said that they shot like ridiculous, like 9 hours of that scene, and it ended up getting cut.
Oh, man.
Jeez.
So it was just like this like huge waste of, but they were all into it. Like, they all love practical effects and they really wanted to do it.
Yeah.
So I saw some of it. I don't think it looks good because it was just like on set, like somebody was using a VHS camcorder, like, or like a beta or some shit. The song Power of the Night that we keep talking about, Power of the Night, was actually written. It was actually written by Richie Vedder. Terrence Mann, the actor who played Johnny Steele, helped him with the final product, and he actually sang this song at a convention one time.
Excellent.
Did he?
Yeah, he said it was like a highlight for him. Like, he
That's
loved
great.
it. So,
That's pretty dope.
but yeah, he helped him like write the song. I don't know if he sang it or not. It wasn't very clear. I'm assuming that he did. But speaking of the house again, I want to mention this. The very end house growing back together was a miniature, by the way.
Oh, shit, really?
Yes.
I just thought it was, like, reversed.
Right. Like the one that they exploded, because the house they blow up is it's charred. Like, if there's anything left, I'd be surprised. But this was a miniature that they actually added and did in reverse. It wasn't the same house that blew up, which, fun story about that. They had an early pre-screening of the movie, and a viewer was just talking about how they didn't like the original ending. So this was not in the original ending when they did a screener for it. What they did originally was just, they go to the house, they show up, the house is fucked, obviously. Everybody gets in the cop car and drives off, and then you see the eggs.
Oh.
But in this one, they thought, like, one of the screener people were like, man, I don't know if I like that ending. Maybe it'd be cool, like, the fucking electronic thing that the fucking bounty hunters give Scott Grimes, if he pushed the button and it turned the house back, and the producer was like, I like it, and added it in the movie.
Yeah, I like that part, too.
I was going to say, yeah, it looked pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm glad they did that.
right.
What gives you a little bit of a happy ending?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think it's better than the original.
It's better than them just driving away.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. It's kind of morbid.
Sure.
It's a weird
sad.
ending.
Yeah.
Like, oh, now my whole house is blown up. Like,
It's kind of a
I
sour
guess I'll
note
take
and
my weird alien
lighthearted
cell
movie
phone.
on.
Right.
yeah. That's what I felt too. I would be kind of annoyed if it's just like, I guess I'll take my weird alien cell phone with my now family that has no.
What good is this
home.
for?
Yeah, what the fuck am I gonna do?
Fuck
Like-
you, Mr. Steele.
I guess I'll keep it if they decide to come back in the future, which they do 3 more fucking times. But
Yeah.
whatever.
Well,
What other egg do you know of that takes 2 years to fucking hatch?
That's another thing. That's
that's
we'll
kind of
talk
annoying.
about that when we get into the second one, though, because I have opinions about that. The only other thing that I had for trivia, there was other stuff that we could talk about, but for the time's sake, the only other thing is that this movie did okay in the theater.
Right. Yeah.
It wasn't like a big hit. Where it really found its home was in home video,
Yeah.
Right.
because this was at that time.
That shit still goes on now.
Right.
You know what I
People
mean?
took more of a
It's all
chance.
based on the Blu-ray sales now.
Well, yeah, but now, yeah, but back then that was a huge deal. Being able to own a movie or well, for like $80 to $150.
Yeah, back in the VHS days,
Right, dude. Like that, those stores would pay like $80 or sometimes even $200-$300 for a movie that came out, and then they would, make their money back by renting it out to numerous
Right.
people.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but remember how long fucking Jurassic Park was in the theaters?
It was for a really, really long time, wasn't it?
fucking time. Yes.
Yeah, well, that was an achievement in cinema.
Oh, it
Yeah,
really
well-
was. Yeah.
So
It's brilliant. I love that fucking movie.
So now we're gonna kind of like briefly break down most of the scenes that stood out for us, I guess, and kind of go through it. We'll kind of run through it a little bit because we don't really have that much to make fun of in this movie.
Yeah,
But-
it's definitely easier when there's movies that we make fun of. 'cause
Right.
We can really break that shit down.
Exactly. But to give you guys kind of an idea for those of you who really have already seen the movie and maybe just want a refresher from like idiots like us, all you have to do is just put on the headphones. You ready? Let's get fucked. You
Lube
ready
up.
to get fucked, you listener?
Jesus. It's
That
like
sounds-
subtly aggressive. Like,
Microaggressions?
ready to get fucked. Listeners?
At least he's asking if you're ready.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's better than just going and driving.
Well, they can unplug anytime they want.
Again, you're not raw dogging us.
Yeah.
I have no consent here.
So the movie opens up to prison asteroid sector 17, and the Krites are imprisoned on this fucking asteroid that is being held by aliens and people who speak English, apparently. But the Krites escape. They call them Krites at this point in time because that's what they're called. That's their shorthand version of what they are.
Yeah.
It's only Brad who actually coins the term critters.
It always confused me, too. I was like, this is called critters, and I fucking call them Krites.
Right. Well, I like
Stupid.
Krites. I like how they say it.
Yeah.
Let's kill Krites.
I just like how the hot naked chick says it in the second one.
Oh, yeah.
Kill Krites. I'm like, oh, shut up.
But fast forward, you're on a farm in the country with Dee Wallace as the mom, a husband, and 2 kids. Brad, one of the kids, is running his thermometer under the hot water to trick his mom at the breakfast table that he's got a fever and doesn't need to go to school. I got a little bit of a story on this because when I was a kid, I tried this
Yeah.
because I thought it was ingenious.
Well, this is the same kind of trope they were using from E.T., right?
Was it? I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was the same kind of thing that that kid tried to do in that movie. But in this movie, she didn't buy it. In the E.T., she bought it.
Well, we got
Not in
Dee
this one.
Wallace. We've got the stuffed animal from this movie that gets its head ripped off.
Right.
Oh, yeah. A little.
There's a lot of
leather
ET nods, so I wouldn't put it past them. But I remember as a kid, I tried to do this, but I couldn't time it right because, once the thermometer's in your mouth, it goes to the temperature that it's at.
Right.
It doesn't stay hot or it'd burn your fucking mouth. You know what I mean? It quickly goes down to the temperature your body is, so it never worked for me. I tried it literally to get out of school, so it's kind of funny. Anyway, everybody is talking about Charlie, who works with his dad like the family is, and he's at the police station complaining about hearing things because of the fillings in his teeth are talking to him. And I think this is like a real story in real life, and I forgot to look it up because I was curious about it. You know what I mean? Do you remember ever hearing anything about somebody picking up radio signals from their
Yeah,
fillings?
That's like
Yeah.
that's like a common alien like abduction type
right
feeling.
But I think there was like somebody that actually felt like they picked up a signal or something.
You're probably right.
It might be like some urban legend or something.
That's probably more likely an urban legend.
Yeah. They go back to space where these faceless bounty hunters who are scanning the planet Earth, they've been hired to capture the Krites and get a bounty once with proof of their death and their extermination or whatever. So they're scanning the info in each eye. They have like a different like thing going on in each thing, like a tiny monitor, and it's just like flashing pictures, almost like kind of reminds me of like Lawnmower Man. When he's like learning all that information, like it kind of like they have each eye is like retaining all this information, and that's not how the mind works.
Right.
Like it does, but it doesn't like that. But they're aliens, so they can do whatever the fuck they want.
This is the future. You don't understand the future.
Well, they're aliens. We don't understand aliens either, so.
Don't judge them.
The fuck do you think you are?
But they're scanning the planet. This is the first time that you actually hear Power of the Night. That will play throughout the entire fucking movie, by the way, which is not a bad thing, okay? I love that song.
I love it too.
Every time I hear it, I always sing it. So, and you probably will too. Power of the Night!
Streets are calling.
I don't remember the rest, but that's all.
That's it, I think.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
That's every verse of the fucking song right there.
Copyright! But Johnny Steele, he suddenly, one of the bounty hunters' faces starts melting like practical effects wise and turns into the singer from the music video, which I thought was a pretty cool little effect there that they
Oh,
did.
definitely. If we were doing favorite scenes, this
is one of them?
This is one of them.
What about you?
That was cool. I like that. I like that also because it's like builds his face on top of whatever is like this ugly like paper mache kind of like mask thing that they're wearing whenever they're not, that they put
had layers,
glow effect on.
Right.
But yeah, it starts to come like it's like the blood and stuff comes in, and then all the muscle and then the skin and everything.
Right.
It's cool.
They did a lot of reverse and like regular fast forwarding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, which I thought was really cool. That was like one of my favorite things, but pretty cool. It's an old trick, but it's a good trick. I like it.
Yeah.
Feels real.
People still use it, so.
Then they fast forward, you go back to Brad's sister is talking about her new boyfriend, Steve. And, of course, Steve is Billy fucking Zane, who stays for dinner, but he's coaxed out by Brad's sister. And I thought this was like a little funny thing when they're at the table, because he's like actually trying to impress her parents.
Right.
By like being interested in, and he was like, well, honey, why don't you stay, and I thought you were going to come watch me play the championship bowling tonight. And he's like, Billy's like, yeah, that sounds like a good plan. And she's like, nope, we're going out, remember? And he's like, yeah, we're going out, I guess.
She like tries to grab his dick under the table.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. But Christina liked that. She said that she liked it because it shows that the like prowess of women can be just as.
Yeah. I like that whole reversal.
Yeah, like
cool.
role reversal, sort of like
she takes charge.
Stereotypical role reversal, I guess it would be, right?
Right.
I don't know. But yeah, you normally see guys doing that, not females in movies, especially at that time. But they pretend to leave and they go out into the shed to fuck, or pretty much just grope.
Yeah.
Right?
Or I think so. Mouse was making fun of that scene. It was hilarious.
What was he saying?
Because she's taking charge of like the whole situation, obviously, and he's very hesitant.
Right.
And he's saving himself for Rose.
Oh my God.
I was like, oh Jesus,
that's
thanks,
right.
Mouse.
Yeah.
It's my second favorite scene, by the way.
Hilarious.
Is it?
Yeah.
The sex scene? Why?
I just like the comment.
I think I just like the way that it looks when the critter bites through the radio and his fingers at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
You know?
yeah. Did you know that they had to actually cut that scene down? They took out 6 frames of the fingers getting cut off.
Oh, really?
Because the MPAA didn't mind the fingers getting taken off. They just didn't want to show the 6 frames of it getting chomped off. So it's like just a quick cut.
And that actually worked a little bit better for me, actually, because I like how clean it was.
It might have been even worse, like, if you think about it, if it was too long.
Yeah. My favorite lines from the movie are in that scene.
Which ones?
Where she goes, oh, I felt the earth move. When then, like the asteroid
you did,
lands or
baby.
whatever. And she's like, oh, I felt the earth move. And he's all, already? Wow. And it's like so subtle.
Yeah, so go make me a sandwich.
and
How about
just
that?
completely like it's like looked over. I feel like a lot of people missed that because my mouse did, and he was
I
watching
missed it.
and I was laughing so fucking hard, and he's like, "What is so funny?" And I was like, "Did you not hear that?" And I like had to rewind it, and he listens. He's like, "Holy shit!" I was like, "That's good. It's a good little like dirty joke."
Yeah, that was a kind of a cool, fun
Basically,
scene.
it was cute.
But they're in that fucking barn for like 4
Half the
hours.
movie.
Right, dude.
Like
My
Jesus,
pants would have been off.
like his dick must be fucking raw and bleeding or something like that because he's got a boner rubbing up against his fucking jeans.
They were pretty pretty. Big,
I don't know
though.
if he had a boner, dude. He seemed pretty standoffish, like she was saying.
Yeah.
Like she was raping him, sort
He
of.
was,
Right.
he was very like, I don't know, and then he gets into it. Why would you want to fuck on straw anyway, though, or hay, whatever that is?
That's what you do in the country, man. You
I
fuck
just, like,
on
I
hay.
just feel like that poking my lady bits, and that'd be really uncomfortable.
Anyway, after the big 4-hour dry hump scene, or during the dry
That
humping,
continues, yeah.
it goes on for a long
For a
time, and
while.
I'm like, Jesus Christ. But, I guess when you're a kid, you're fucking horny as fuck. So it's like, yeah, whatever. I'll make out with you for like 9 hours, I guess.
I'm gonna drop this in the trash.
Just gonna put like
I didn't know it
Critters
was
2
having noise.
on and this like
Dry hump.
repeat.
But anyway, earlier on, Brad was, of course, making dynamite in his room. And, because that's what kids do. They make fucking homemade dynamite.
Literally making
There's no
dynamite.
way there'd be a scene like that in a movie
Not
today.
taking a shit. He's making actual dynamite.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
It's not a
is that what you
euphemism.
call it?
No. I'm just like, that's probably what someone does. I don't know.
And boom goes the dynamite. But yeah, he was playing with a slingshot earlier in the movie with Charlie, and they like blew up some fucking toy with like a fucking what I thought was a cherry bomb. Or like a fucking, what do they call them? M80s?
M80s, yeah.
Yeah, but it was like a homemade M80. And I guess Charlie, like after that, shot his sister.
In the butt, yeah.
in the butt. But then fucking Brad takes the blame because
Right.
he doesn't want to get Charlie in trouble or lose his job because his dad's a tight ass about everything. He's like,
His sister's like 16 and Charlie's a grown man.
yeah.
So, I mean, that's part of it.
Well, he's a boy, you see.
Like, that's
Mentally,
like-
he's got the capacity of an 8-year-old.
He can understand and comprehend these complex situations that we're going through.
They do show Charlie after that heading home on the bike when the plane or the spaceship fucking crashes, and Charlie sees he's drinking hooch. He's taking a break. He's like, "Oh, well, I'm driving home. Better take some hooch and drink
Like
it up."
as he's on his bike and
Right.
shit, right?
But he's like sees the spaceship fly overhead, which Christina said that scene in particular looks a lot like the scene from Back to the Future because of the Grover's Bend sign was right there, and like she said it kind of reminded her of the first Back to the Future when he takes the thing into the barn or whatever, or maybe it was part 2.
No, that's part 1.
Is it part 1?
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm not talking about the barn. I'm just saying she might be thinking. She said it was from one of the Back to the Future movies. I just don't know which one she's.
It's the first one because that's where he rolls the fucking DeLorean behind that sign.
Felt good.
Right. So maybe that's why it was very reminiscent. I don't think it's very similar, but anyway.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. But Charlie, he panics and drops his hooch, breaks the bottle, and then they cut to Brad on the roof hiding from his dad, and he's like in a tree or some shit. And they both see the spaceship like flying and crash that literally shakes the entire house and, like you mentioned, Brittany, fucking in the barn.
Felt the earth move.
Already?
Really? Already?
Yeah, baby.
Wow.
But the spaceship lands and you hear the Krites say food, and then they like attack a cow or some shit, and Brad gets caught in a tree by his dad, and he's like, "Boy, what you doing up there?" Like he's like, "Oh, the earthquake! It knocked me out of the house and into the tree. You better stop
I missed
fucking
that.
making up bullshit, son." Like, who the fuck would believe that? But I guess he's a kid, whatever. But him and his dad go over and check out like where the crash land is, and he trips over the half-eaten cow or whatever, and that's when they're like, "Okay, well, I think that's enough." Like, like what? Why?
Let's go
Well,
home.
he said like that's enough without my gun. That's about as far as I'm gonna go without my gun or something.
Is
like
that what he said?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that makes sense. And then about this time is where you see the cop patrolling down the road, and a crate rolls out in front of the cop's car, causing him to go off the road, and he gets stung by one of the crate needles, a little fucking porcupine needle in the neck, and he's like, "Ah!" Or in the knee. Was it in the knee? Yeah, and it drops him to the ground because it
Yeah.
was under the car, right?
Right.
That's either his knee or his leg.
So I was totally wrong because I thought Billy Zane was the first to go.
No, it was
wasn't.
the
It was
cop.
a cop.
Yeah. Yeah, he falls down, and then the Krites drag him under the
He
car.
like leans into
And
the
you just hear...
car, which fucking cracks me up because he like launches himself underneath the car.
Right, he's like, ah!
The actor, and I'm like, oh jeez.
That was a fun point, though.
No, it was. I was just like, the editing could have been a little better on that.
Yeah.
I was like, who does that? All right then,
Well,
eat me, you little weirdos.
later they have a quick scare to the mom. She sees like red eyes in the window, and then the bounty hunters land on the planet in the woods because they've been chasing the Krites that escaped from planet asteroid sector 17.
It's like an asteroid prison or something.
Prison,
right?
yeah, there was a prison. But one looks like Johnny Steele, who was in the Power of the Night video, and then the other one refuses to transform. He's just like the green blank head, and he says, "Nothing likes me," because apparently they need to find suitable like
hosts,
facades.
kind of, yeah.
So, I don't know. It's kind of interesting little like lore on the.
I know.
I don't
Cracks me
know.
up.
I thought it was kind of cool.
Transform already. Well, nothing likes me. I was like, what?
Well, that's why I like part 2, but I don't want to get into it because they do a lot more of that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it makes no sense because how do you know Johnny still likes you? You know, you
I
just
guess
said-
they have-
Yeah,
but
you
that's
saw
what I
on
didn't
fucking
understand.
TV.
Like, that's why I didn't understand that.
I mean, that's a good
Right.
point.
Yeah.
I
was
I'm
like, okay.
but for
Poking
this,
holes. I'm sorry.
what are you, one of those people that don't believe the Blair Witch is actually a witch?
Are we going there? Dude? Let's
just
not,
kidding.
Dude,
I'm just
let's
kidding.
not open that box of crazy.
But anyway, so Dad hears a noise and goes into the fruit cellar and gets jumped by a mouthful of teeth
Mouthful of flesh.
Either or.
and
I mean,
fur.
if you're opposite.
But he gets bit a few times and then he bats him off with like a hammer. Apparently that got cut too, by the way. The hammer scene, the MPA didn't like because they hit him like 10 times. They're like, maybe if he doesn't hit him 15 times and just 6.
3 times is enough.
Yeah, it's
okay?
like, because they thought it was a little too much. I think it's silly, but whatever. Like, I'm sure they're like probably just stupid things. Like seeing the act of something
Yeah.
is more detrimental than actually it falling off, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, they escape. The bounty hunters happen upon the dead cop, and one of the bounty hunter transforms into the dead cop, complete with like wounds and like that dead look of the cop.
Yeah.
Which you would have thought the cop would have been shredded, like to have no
Like the cow.
Right.
right. Like the cow was fucking in half.
You know what that makeup kind of reminded me of? Did you ever watch Men in Black?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of too.
The cockroach guy.
I thought it was the same actor for a second.
Me
and
too.
I was like, the fuck?
Well, no, that's what's his name from Full Metal Jacket
Yeah.
and The Cell.
Yeah. Oh, dude, he plays
From
such
the
a
Men
good
in Black.
creep,
Yeah,
dude.
it's totally a different person. But like for like a minute there, I was like,
Kind of reminds you of it.
yeah.
Yeah, Billy Zane is back at the shed or the barn, I should say.
About to get it on. Like the radio
fingers.
starts. The radio starts. The
Skipping.
frequency. Yeah, the frequency starts going in and out, and he reaches up to adjust it and gets his fingers taken clean off by the critter.
Right.
And now I kind of want to see the scene that you were talking about, where they fucking go inside his belly.
I can show it to you when we're done, but it's really not that. Like you just see like they have like this fake stomach and it's like carved out, and they had like a critter on a stick that they were like rolling around in it.
And I don't want to get too far into it, but it seemed like they tried to do that with the second one, but they didn't actually take it there.
Right. Well, these are PG-13 movies, so they couldn't do it, you know. But yeah, he dies, and the bounty hunters show up at a church event. Like they're driving the cop car at this point in time, which it's funny that they know how to like work the car.
Well, they didn't at first. They drove backwards the whole time.
Right, yeah, and then they slam into the front of the church, the like front porch, and they're like, "We're looking for Krites." Like, I laughed at that point because it's like,
Christ.
why? First of all, why is somebody at church at the
A
middle
whole
of the
bunch of
night
people.
for a sermon?
Yeah.
Like, it's really weird. But they crash into it, and everybody's just like, what the fuck? The preacher is like, the county's going to pay for this, Jeff, because the bounty hunter looks like the cop,
Right.
whose name is Jeff. And he's pointing at the dead cop, looking at the bounty hunter, in which he transforms into the preacher and starts shooting everything because they hear the old lady faints. when he changes and he falls on the organ and he just shoots the organ, which I'm like, wait, where did the old lady go?
Yeah, I know.
Like, did he blow her up? Like,
No,
did he just shred that old lady
I
with a
think
gun?
she shows back up in like the end when they leave the church.
Okay, so she's not dead.
Like,
Thank
I think
God.
she moves out of the way or whatever. Whoever moves out of the way.
It's a miracle.
It is. She's dead now, but
Well, we hope so.
Oh.
Anyway, no. So back on the farm, the family are trying to gather their shit to escape. They go to the truck. They find the whole interior torn to fucking shreds by the Krites. And then they take off, I guess, for the sister's car that she parked next to the barn or whatever. They're locked out accidentally, and they, like, all run to the front door, but they showed, like, the latch closing somehow. Like, the floor latch, like, locks, and they can't get in, so then Brad shimmies up to the roof and lets them all in.
He goes to the back door.
Well, because the dad's, like, really hurt because he gets attacked again, right?
Right.
And then Dee Wallace has to fight them off, and she's like about to bat them because she's out of ammo, and he doesn't have any on him or something, or they like try to load it or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, he kind of like gets some out of his pocket, and she's trying to fucking load it while they're all.
Right. And Brad, like, he finally makes it through the house and lets them in, and then she points the gun out and points at, and one of the Krites is talking to the other one. He's like, they got weapons. And the other's like, so what? And the mom points and shoots the shotgun at the one that said, so what? And it just explodes. And the other one's like, fuck! It just like rolls off. It's like, oh my God.
oh, so funny.
Oh, dude, that was like so great. Like for that, even for a kid, like I was like, oh my God, they said fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh fuck, they said fuck.
That's why I said it as an adult. I was like, nah.
I don't know. I just like
They
that.
said
I thought that was a
fuck.
fun little scene.
It's a good scene. I like that scene.
That apparently in the theater when they first showed that at the screenings, people just went wild
Oh yeah.
over that scene in particular, and they were like, "Oh shit, we gotta like add subtitles to like these motherfuckers because they really get into it." That's when we go back to the bowling alley and Charlie's drunk talking about aliens again, of course, and bounty hunters show up ripping the door off the front.
Oh, side note, by the way, I love the fucking bowling league logo.
Pin
Yes!
busters.
Yeah, it's almost like the Ghostbusters logo, but they're pins.
Well,
You
I,
said-
great.
I spent like 3 minutes trying to like make up the name before we actually saw what they were called. So Mouse and I were just like bullshitting names for their fucking team.
Pin busters.
But that's what it is pin busters.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what the fuck we were saying at this point. I should have wrote them down because they were pretty funny. But
Wow.
like the shit we were
Like you
just
guys got really into
making
it.
up. Yeah, because he couldn't. You saw the dad in the kitchen like prior to, and I was like, the fuck is he wearing? A bowling shirt? And I was like, oh, that is a bowling shirt. And then we started making up names for like what could possibly be the name of the league or what the team or whatever
Okay.
in his league. And then they finally show it's pin busters, and I was like, oh, that wasn't even one we thought of.
A lot of people do point that out. I mean, it definitely does look like Ghostbusters. It's
Oh, yeah.
leaning the
Yeah.
same way.
The arms are waving the same way.
That was all around that time, though, I guess,
Yeah.
you know? So I guess, you know, they wanted to do that.
You got to mark it on what's hot, you know?
But I love that the fucking bounty hunters are just, like, ripping everything apart. Like, ripping the front door off.
The door, and it like,
Like it's nothing. Like they're like these super extremely powerful guys. It's like, what the fuck? And then like Johnny Hunter or Johnny Steele, the hunter, I should say, sees a ball and he chucks it at the pins and it explodes them. And like one of the patrons is like, holy shit. And the other patron's like, I wonder what team he's on.
whose team's he on?
I was like, what? But they go to the bar where Charlie is and they say, we want the Krites. Like they're holding them hostage or something. Like, calm
Yeah.
the fuck down. If they were here, everybody be dead. You already know that. So why are you so stupid?
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. That's why they're like searching in places they're not at.
Right. It's just, I think it's just to add
It is. That's all-
camaraderie.
Well, that
yeah.
and just to add to the story, I think too.
Right. I think it's funny little moments because they even like in the bar, the priest bounty hunter is like, you better keep your shirt on to the like guy that's like trying to talk shit to him, and then changes into Charlie, and then the TV makes a noise and they shoot it up, and then everybody starts scattering out of the bowling alley. It's like, Jesus Christ, these guys are pretty dumb for like such smart guys, you know?
Noises! Loud noises!
Like, why would they just, like, I just think it's funny that they're asking for the Krites. Like, if they're there and they're that scary that you would shoot a television or anything for that matter and
People
rip
aren't
doors
trying
off.
to bogart the Krites. Okay?
Right, like-
We're not hiding the Krites. You want the Krites, take the Krites.
Anyway, the family gets chased up to the second floor, and this is where you see like Brad like sets the carpet on fire or whatever, and one of the Krites like jumps into the toilet. Apparently some people think that's a nod
to like ghoulies. Yeah.
I don't know that that's what they were trying to do. Like, 'cause I don't even know if that Ghoulies 2 came out.
Although Ghoulies did scare me about the toilet, dude.
Oh, of course. Yeah, everybody did. But the family, like, they fight it off, and it goes in the toilet or something like that to, like, get the fire off of it. They said that was a really difficult scene to do, and they really wanted it to be on fire, but they were like, these are, like, really expensive. Or something like that. The Kyoto brothers said that or whatever about the critter going in the toilet. But Brad decides to leave the house to get help with his bike. This is the part I was talking about. And one of the large Krites is actually the critters, he calls them, chases him into the hen house, and then the big one gets even bigger. And this is the first time you hear Brad say, "Oh my God, they're growing," which apparently they don't allude to in part 2, but I do remember them saying about the growing thing in part 2.
Right. Well, the only one that's big was in the second one, but we won't get into that because it's a spoiler.
Right. But they do get big in this one, so it's kind of interesting because I know John Hale was pointing that out. He was like, this is like one of the only movies that they allude to the fact that they get bigger as they eat, which I think would have been a kind of an interesting dynamic, but where do you stop?
Right.
Till they're like 15 fucking stories high?
That would have been cool, though.
That would have been like a 90s, like, Godzilla fucking suit.
Will they call the Power Rangers in?
Yes. Go Power Rangers.
The next scene that I thought of that I wanted to bring up is that the Gremlins, it's kind of like a Gremlins nod, I guess, because there's a scene of all the critters like kind of wreaking havoc on the whole fucking house, eating goldfish, talking to the stuffed animal toy of E.T. and ripping its head off. And
do you remember what he said to E.T. real quick? Because I don't
remember. What was it?
Doesn't he ask him like who he is or where he's
there
from?
We go.
Like that?
That's exactly
So
like, who are you?
Alien.
And he doesn't respond, so he just rips its head off.
Yeah.
I just thought it was kind of weird. It kind of reminded me of Gremlins, ding, 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 when they're like fucking like tearing everything up. But yeah, then they have the big one that's kind of like looming around the house,
Like outside, yeah.
Yeah, it's like getting really big. Brad gets to the road and bumps into the bounty hunters looking for the Krites, and they head to the house and blow like a cartoonish size hole in the sides of the front of the house, you know what I mean? And the Krites flee, and the bounty hunter goes upstairs. It's a part that I remember. And they're like trying to fight the Krites or whatever, and they're like, look up behind you, it's a Krite. And then the lid comes up a little bit, and he puts the thing on it, lifts it up, and you see it trying to like get away, like its little legs are kicking.
And he just blows the whole fucking toilet away.
They said that scene, that Terrence Mann wanted to do that scene himself. He was like, oh, I can do that. Just, set it off. And they were like, no, we don't think you should do it. Apparently the guy who shot that toilet, they like did it all right there, and that was a real toilet, actually had facial fucked up damage.
Oh, from shrapnel.
From shrapnel
wow.
from the toilet. So he was like kind of glad that he didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, oh, fuck, man. Like, what the fuck are you thinking? Like, he's like, I'm kind of glad I didn't do that. But this is where they show the big one that kind of attacks Brad and jumps out of a window from the bounty hunters and drags his sister off into the woods to the spaceship or whatever. Isn't that what it was?
Yeah.
They like drag her off, and then they don't know what. Like, why wouldn't they just eat her?
Yeah, I'm like,
they were actually. If you watch him when he's dragging her through the forest, the other ones are feeding on her.
Oh, so she does have like marks on her or whatever, but
yeah,
she's
one's
like in there.
feeding on her shoulder. And what it is about the shoulder? They really like going for the shoulder.
I think it's the neck thing. I guess maybe. What do you think?
Yeah, it's usually like right here.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense if that's where your biggest veins are, because it's usually the shoulder or your inner thigh.
Anywhere you're looking at them, they're like trying to attack that area, I guess. I don't fucking know. Anyway, they're smart. They're not just blind. We talked about this. So they're just stupid
like
creatures. So they don't have to always eat, but they do have an appetite. But Brad bumps into real Charlie, and they go to the spaceship to rescue his sister. And Brad pulls out of the mega stick of dynamite that he's been prepping up in his room for fucking days. And he drops it accidentally, and they flee the ship because they go into the ship and they see these critters talking. And then the big one tries to attack them or whatever, and they try to get out. And he drops it, and they're like, fuck! And Charlie decides that he will fashion a Molotov cocktail out of his fucking alcohol from his pocket and chucks it in, and hopefully lighting the dynamite in there. And he does, of course. And it makes it in, but before it blows up, the ship shoots their house in one of literally the most extreme, I think one of the best explosions of a house I've ever seen.
Good. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Like, dude, like that looked like way too much. Like, I've never seen a house blow up like that. And I watched Invasion USA, which they just blew the fuck out of these houses.
Well, maybe it was like one of those things where they had all this stockpile of shit they were going to use for the filming. And they're like, we didn't really do that many explosion scenes, so let's just throw it in one scene.
Fuck.
All the dynamite.
Yeah, let's put it all in there.
All of it.
Dude, that dynamite, the explosion was just insane.
Oh, it's fucking huge.
But then they blow up the house, but then it's like, they're like, uh-oh. And then the fucking ship blows up, and it's like, boom. But then, I don't know, I just thought it was kind of funny. But, the bounty hunters leave and give Brad a device, and they say, call me. Which is like, this is long before cell phones, by the way.
Right.
So you can imagine. This is smaller than cell phones are, too. We went to small, and then we're getting big again. But, you see a few hours later, I guess it's lighter out. The family goes back to their broken home and the completely destroyed home. And the device starts beeping, and Brad hits the button, and it makes the house go back together like we talked about.
Which is my third favorite scene.
Oh, it is? Okay, go ahead.
I love this, the part where it starts coming together, and like the cat's just sit there chilling, and all of a sudden it starts
dragged
yeah,
off.
it gets dragged, and you can see it.
I know. It's like, okay.
And then it's in the mailbox, and the fucking flag goes up.
Yeah. It like somehow ends up in the mailbox. I was like, why?
It's silly. It's like, happy day. And then the camera zooms in, and you see the eggs, knowing that there might be a sequel. Even though
and it's a fitting ending, like I was saying, because it's such a lighthearted movie that it needed some kind of a uplifting ending to it.
Well, I think it was definitely good enough that I would have wanted to see a sequel. And I think that's why people sort of wanted it, but we'll get into that more when we talk about part 2.
Right.
So.
All right. So the second movie we did was obviously Critters 2, the main course, which came out in 1988. Eggs of the small, furry alien carnivores are left behind on Earth, and after hatching, again set their appetites on the town of Grover's Bend.
Oh, yeah.
They're back. And eggs.
And took 2 years to
Yeah, it
hatch.
took 2 years to hatch.
Which I don't understand.
I don't.
It doesn't make sense, and they make a big thing about it. Like, the heat is what makes them hatch.
I guess.
Like,
So
it
2
wasn't
years
hot
worth
enough
of
in
heat.
that country-ass town.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't... Where was it? Where did it take place?
They were in the barn, too, the eggs.
Like 2 years worth of country heat.
It's not like Canada, and even Canada gets warm enough that...
Yeah.
Fuck it. What are they, in Alaska? Like, I don't fucking know.
No. That's so stupid.
Anyway.
Stupid.
So it was directed by Mick Garris, who also did Sleepwalkers, Riding the Bullet, and all the TV short documentaries for The Howling, Chilling Tale, The Thing, and The Goonies. Written by Mick Garris as well, and David Toy, who also wrote The Fugitive, Waterworld, Chronicles of Riddick, Below, The Arrival. This has a couple of recurring characters. Scott Grimes, Lynn Shay, Terrence Mann, and Don Opper returned to us for part 2 of this franchise. It also has Leanne Curtis, who plays Megan, who is in some movies called Girlfriend from Hell, Body High, and she's also in 16 Candles.
Okay.
It also has Sam Anderson, who plays Mr. Morgan, who was another character from ER. He was also in Lost and then Ouija Origin of Evil.
Yes.
It
Okay,
also-
but Lynn Shay was in, too.
Lynn Shay's in also.
Huh.
It also has Tom Hodges, who plays Wesley, who was in Steel Magnolias, Heavyweights, a movie called Homo Erectus, which I don't know what the fuck that is, but I need to know
Fuck
now.
that. Caveman movie?
Steel
Probably.
Magnolias, dude. Oh my god, it's my number one.
He's also in Revenge of the Nerds 2 and another movie called The Baby Doll Murders. Also has Herta Ware, who plays Nana.
Nana!
Who's in Species, Practical Magic, Cruel Intentions, Cocoon, and a lot of other
Wait,
movies
who'd
as
she
well.
play in Species?
I don't know who she played in Species. She's probably fucking old lady. She's always credited as like old lady this or like
Old lady number 2.
grandma someone
Yeah.
else. Like the fuck?
Eating prunes. I'm not trying to be disrespectful here.
Bench warmer.
Like basically, hang on, I'm gonna tell you right now though, 'cause I want to know who she plays in that. But like every other movie, it's like grandma.
Well, we did Species, didn't
Nana.
we? We did the whole series of Species.
Well, and I have to say, like, what a hot grandma, huh?
Right,
Lord.
right.
I don't know about all that.
Jesus, dude.
Jesus Christ.
She's Mrs. Morris in Species.
Okay.
But yeah, like old lady Wilkins, Grammy, like in other movies, like Practical Magic, she's like old lady something.
Practical.
She's like that one old person that tells you not to do something.
Is Practical Magic that movie with fucking what's his name from fucking Remo Williams?
It's Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock.
Oh, that one. Okay, never mind.
Oh, that piece of trash. Okay.
I don't know about that, but
I like that movie. It's
I've never seen it, so I'm just talking shit.
Yeah.
not as good as like the all the other like witch movies.
what a
but-
fucking dildo this guy is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? So, what did you think of this movie? Patrick?
Yeah.
Patrick. Oh, is it my turn?
Yeah, it's your
Fucking
turn.
dildo.
It's your moment.
Yeah, I really like this movie. Like I said, it's the first Critters that I actually remembered the whole movie, like from front to end. So like, it's
From
just
front to
nostalgia
end.
from front to end,
Butt to
baby.
front.
Yeah, baby. I love Critters too. I love how crazy it goes. It just goes there. It doesn't care. It's
Okay.
not trying to take itself serious. It's just.
I don't know if it is. Like, I thought it was kind of like really tongue-in-cheek silliness, really.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not trying to take itself
Yeah.
serious.
Oh, I thought you said it is.
No.
No.
And that's what I enjoy about you know me. I love that shit.
Yeah, well, so does Christina. She loves that shit, too, and Britney does.
So to me, it was good, and it definitely felt almost like a. I say this a lot. I noticed, but like a what am I thinking? Trauma film.
Trauma, okay.
It just
Really? You think it's that deep?
especially when they bring out. I don't want to get too deep into the story plot, but the nerdy guy that what's his name lead transforms into.
Oh,
He
okay,
seems like a trauma
I can
character.
totally. I see what you mean.
True
now.
and true. you
There's
know?
like elements of it. Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
There's just elements that are this bleed trauma for me.
Okay.
But yeah, all in all, it was a great film, and I'll probably watch it again this year.
Yeah. Really, this year already.
Yeah, probably.
You know, it's funny because a lot of people aren't big fans of this one. They think it's like too silly. But for me, I feel like it's for the most part pretty seamless to the first one.
Oh yeah.
It is definitely in the sillier category.
And the practical effects, I mean, fuck,
Yeah, well,
dude.
they definitely amped it up and did some pretty unique things. The Kyoto brothers are back,
Sorry.
and they did some really fucking cool things. No, it's cool if you burp, Brittany.
Okay. I'm like, I don't know why I'm
Let it-
apologizing.
Yeah, give him a good push.
Well, I just didn't mean to like cut you off with my burp, so that's why I said sorry. I was like, wait, I don't care.
This chick right
But-
here.
But personally, aside from the silly humor and like the gigantic critter part in it that I won't spoil for you latecomers, because for those of you who are old as fuck like us, you probably know what I'm talking about, right?
Old as fuck. Aw.
If you guys remember the dinosaurs, you remember when this movie came out. So, but yes, it is a little over the top, with its moments, but I really feel like it was a good sequel for the franchise, and it ups the creative effects, like you said, Patrick, because I think the Kyoto brothers they really shine in the moment when they have to come up with something on a quick.
Right, it's on the fly. That's what.
Yeah, like they're really, really crafty like that, and I would love to have them on the show sometime, at least one of them or something,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Or meet them at a fucking convention or something like that. But it definitely ups the creative effects for this movie. It has some of the cast return, like you said. I thought, it was good to see Scott Grimes back because I feel like he's a big part of the Critters franchise in a lot of ways, even though he never really returns after this. Spoiler alert. But Charlie's back, which is a great addition. He's like probably more the heart of I think Critters in general, just because of his character, which I think is one of the best characters in the both of these movies. Although I feel like Charlie got a little overshadowed by some other stuff in this one. But I'm not sure why they didn't want to risk it for the biscuit this time and amp up the gore and make it an R rating, but it is only 3 years later.
I feel like they did. A little bit, though.
They did. They got away with a lot more just because of the MPA rating system. But I do feel like they wanted to kind of keep it in that same fandom. Like the people who enjoyed the first one, it's only 3 years later. So the ones that watched that one are probably going to come back. So they didn't want to push it too far. Because, like, if 13-year-olds were enjoying it, yeah, 16-year-olds would have. But what if, like, 10-year-olds were watching it?
Right.
Their parents might not have wanted them to see it. And to be honest, it really does push it, especially for, like, a nude scene in this movie,
dude.
which I thought was, like, how the fuck did they get away with that?
For real.
Dude, like, what was it, 3 times?
I don't, there's quite a few, but I don't know how they did it. But honestly, if you're a fan of the first one, I think that you will be a fan of this one. I know that there are some of my friends that are like, think the first one's the only good one and the rest suck. But I'm a fan of both. I remember, like you, Patrick, it more fondly a little bit because I think it was more current because, like, I was a latecomer to the first Critters.
Right.
And the second one is what, like, really reeled me in. But it has a lot of the same elements working for it, and it's not that far off tonally, I think, than the first. It seems like a natural progression in some of the silliness, I guess, you know, because it is silly to see these fucking puppets, like, attacking people. Come on. The characters, I thought, were just as strong, and, you know, maybe they weren't perfect all the time, but I think, like, some of the humor that they did and some of the stuff they did with the bounty hunters in this was really cool. And for Mick, this is Mick Garris's first feature film, by the way.
Yeah.
So he, like, we'll get into some of the trivia about this later, but let's just say I think he did a good job.
Oh,
And
definitely.
I don't think I think he hit the mark. I just don't know that people were willing to be into a Critters 2 movie. But and the sequels get a lot worse.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
They usually do.
I haven't seen part 3 in, like, a long time, so I can't confirm if that one's like crap, but I know part 4 gets really
Is it as bad
wild.
as the Warlock Part 4?
No, that one's terrible. You mean part 3?
Oh, is it 3?
Yeah. Oh, that one's terrible.
I remember I
But is it
skimmed out of
bad
that one because I
as
didn't
the
watch it.
Howling
That was the
Part
one
4?
that I didn't
No,
watch.
it's nowhere. I guarantee you that the fucking Critters in Space, Critters
There's-
4 is better than fucking Howling 4
I don't
or
think-
7.
I don't think I've ever seen anything as bad as Howling 4 and 7.
Oh, you should watch that Warlock movie then.
Oh, okay.
No, dude, trust me. The Warlock 3 is better than probably 4 and 7 of Howling.
Oh, really?
Like, did you...
Shit's awful.
Well, if you remember, I didn't actually watch Warlock 3.
Oh, that's right. You...
I
Oh, you're confessing to it now.
Yeah, I got out of that one.
Okay.
Hold on. Okay.
So, Britni, what
What?
did you think? I want to know your feelings on this one. Did you like it better than the first one?
No.
No.
I liked the first
Thought
one
it was
better.
worse.
I didn't think it was worse. I didn't like it as much as the first one.
Okay.
I enjoyed the first one more. I feel like it was just a better story, more consistent for me.
Okay. No,
So-
that's fair. I hate you, but
I'm going to rip your face off and wear it like a hat, but continue.
I don't know. Like this one was. I mean, it's fun and it's silly, but I don't
okay.
know. I felt like
It's
the first
too
one
much.
Was a
It
little
was
bit-
just too much.
A little bit too much. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I felt like it was just a little bit too all over the place
Okay.
for me. So and
What do you think was missing from it? Do you think it was the characters? Do you think it was the kills? Do you think
I think
like
probably I would say like the characters. I didn't feel as connected to them as I did in the first one.
okay?
Which is funny because there's a lot of like recurring characters, which I feel like the recurring characters were all fine. It was just like all the newer elements. So like the character of like Wesley and then the what's her name, Megan. Like I didn't like
The new girl.
her
Yeah.
like, at all.
Well, they wanted to have a love interest, so they had to add
and
her.
I get it, but I was just I don't know. I didn't feel like she sold it really
Okay.
well.
I
for
thought she
me,
was
but
cool. I thought she was
alright,
like kind of
but-
like the cool like
Yeah.
I
badass
thought
girl.
she was all right for who she was, but they kind of just kept her in the background. They
Yeah.
didn't push her to the forefront at all.
Fair enough.
Yeah, she was just she was like there towards the end, but that's really the only time she like mattered.
Okay.
Sort of.
Okay.
I don't know. It's silly and it's fun, so I mean you can't really hate on it. I don't think you can hate on either of these movies too much because they're not, they know what they are.
If you're taking it
Like,
serious, then
yeah, like
you're
you can't
definitely
take
watching
them
the wrong
seriously.
movie.
Like they know exactly what they are when they made these movies. They're not trying to make these fucking blockbuster hits. Like
Right. Well, they knew that
these
it was
incredible
cheese.
horror films. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But like they're nowhere near as stupid and cheesy as like trauma films.
Yeah.
Or even as the other one,
Well, you gave the first one a 6.5. What would you give this
This one I would probably like a 5.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't
Okay.
hate it by any means, but
See, now this one I would go higher. I would give it an 8.
yeah.
Really?
And
Yeah.
I get where you guys are coming from with how you've explained like your attraction to this one over the other, or like nostalgia feelings, I guess, especially because you were older when you saw the second one, so you're going to remember it a little bit differently than when you saw the first one,
Right.
which makes sense.
Well,
So-
I don't know, because I think he might have seen the second one first.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
or
definitely
saw
saw the
backwards.
second one first, and a lot of that humor was in the main vein of like the media when I was a kid, like
It was like the thing.
Briscoe County Kid and Xena,
Even the
and-
full moon movies and
right.
Trauma
It was
and-
just it felt normal to me.
yeah,
Okay.
which is fine. Like that makes sense. I mean, I saw Critters for the first time like 10 or 11, and that was it though. I never saw the second one until literally yesterday. So
Really?
Wow.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
yeah, I didn't even know it went further on. So it was the same with the Howling. I didn't know it
Just
went.
you
I didn't
wait.
know it went past number 1. So I was like, "Fuck, man!" And here I go. I watched 8 of them, and I wanted to kill myself.
I won't
from
be here for next week's episode.
4
by the way.
through 7,
Yeah,
basically.
it's we've been traumatized, guys, by the Howling franchise.
Yeah, I don't think anything's gonna be worse than that.
Did you say traumatized?
Traumatized.
No, traumatized.
Oh,
Yes, but clever.
Yeah, but I feel like that. So that's probably why I view it differently. I think is because I just saw it for the first time
Okay.
now at the age of 28. So I'm just kind of like, this is stupid,
right.
but not fun stupid. Like trauma movies are fun stupid.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's a different vein for
Right.
those. And then they're gory as fuck.
Right.
Typically, like this one has its moments of where there's like gore elements to it, which I appreciated more.
Yeah.
There's also a great pair of tits in this movie, which I also was a fan of
Super fan.
because I love boobs, but at the same time, I was like,
Who
for
doesn't
real?
like boobs? Even
like, they
women
better-
like boob. Do you hear this?
Yeah, women and gay men all love titties. Like, we love titties. They're great. But I was like, they better change her fucking outfit. Like,
Right.
because when she goes walking off into, like, the field,
You're like, there's no way. It'd be
She's
great
got-
if she showed up at the Burger Shack, just
Yeah.
like tits out. And
she
everything.
literally has a strap of fucking leather up her ass. And I'm like, that is not going to be comfortable in your cooch. It can't be comfortable in
Oh,
your
man.
butt. Like, please let her fucking change. And then they do. They put her in a different outfit, and I loved it, too. The outfit was cute.
It's the 80s, though. You know.
I know. And it was
Everything
so, like,
was
Barbarella,
uncomfortable.
like, kind of
Right.
like, you know, like that kind of feel to it, which I really liked. So, I don't know. She was a cool character. She was annoying when she spoke, but
Right.
So
I sound like such a dude when I say that. That's horrible. I'm sorry, but she had like 2 lines in the one line, but it was the same line repeated. Like,
Right.
Christ, that's all
Christ.
she said. And I wish they would have given her more lines, but maybe they did that specifically because I don't know.
I totally see your point, and I could see that other people would do it. I have no argument with that. But for me, it just felt like it showed more. Like, when I was a kid, like, seeing sequels wasn't a bad thing to me.
no, yeah, it was just adding more onto your favorite stories.
And it might have been because I was a little late to some of the movies. I just wanted to be in that world again.
Yeah.
So in my mind, like, seeing more of the bounty hunters and them changing into different characters was really amazing. And there's
Yeah,
one scene
that was cool.
that I had a fucking fan boner like a motherfucker for. We'll talk about that later. But it just, there was so much creativity in that movie in part 2 that I think it gets such a bad rap.
And by the way, I know what scene you're talking about. You don't need to tell me.
Yeah,
I know
you
how
don't-
your
don't
brain
mention
works.
it,
Dude.
yeah.
I can
'Cause I got a whole thing
Even before
on
you
it.
get it, just let me guess what it is before you start talking about it.
Well,
So I guarantee
we'll
I'll
cut
nail
it out. What?
Okay. No, that's fine.
Well, you can just tell me if I was right or not. I don't think you're lying. But anyway, I think there's quite a bit of trivia on this. First of all, they shot this movie in Santa Clarita in the winter, by the way. Winter. So those nude scenes,
Yeah,
really cold for her.
they're just naturally
Oh,
hard
yeah.
nipples.
Well, that's yeah.
They said it was like 3 fucking
Well,
degrees.
that's what you want.
in Santa Clarita.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, wait, what?
No,
You want to be able to
before
cut
global warming
glass
got
with
real
them
bad, I
babies.
guess.
Well, they said they shot it in 40 days in Santa Clarita in the winter, and they finished right before Christmas. And they had like songs that they were singing Christmas carols at the end of it because it was just like on this fake set and everything that they built. By the way, guys, if you don't want anything spoiled, we're getting into the spoilers right now, so just a forewarning. But they built the entire town.
Yeah, I figured they did.
They had some stuff there, but they built on it. They even built the Kyoto's shop in one of the, I think it was the general store or something, that they just created all the creatures and shit on the fly there a lot of the time. So they were just busy back there working when they were shooting and stuff.
That's cool.
I thought it was kind of interesting. You know, like they
Yeah.
built this whole little fucking town. The church, everything was built.
It feels like that to me. Every time they show the town,
Right.
I feel like they built the set specifically for this movie. Like it feels like one of those old timey, like where it's just the front
Right.
half of the building. There's
One
no
of those
substance
lost
that
towns.
goes to it.
Yeah.
Well, they literally just built the front part to go over other pieces to change the scenery of the setting.
Right.
Like,
It's cool though. I thought
Yeah.
they said that this was double the budget than the first one. Like Mick Garris said it was like $4 million, but he said that
which I can kind of see, but at the same time, I'm like, where'd all the money go? I'm like, oh, building
Where's the money?
building the town, I guess.
they said that they knew how to stretch a dollar, like, or a nickel is what they said. They knew how to make it work, and they spent a lot of that budget on on building the entire town and the creature effects and all this other
Makes
shit.
sense.
Like
they
some
use
of this
locals as well as
No, it's no Howling 7.
Oh Lord.
Oh, that's a good one for you guys that know what we're talking about.
Yeah, whoever actually like watched or followed along with that episode.
They said like I said, it was a budget at twice as much as the first one, but it apparently got its big push in by home media. The first one was as well, and they actually had invested in the movie the first time around, and they also invested in home media entertainment because they made bank on the first movie because of the home video sales that they were making from all the rental places and everything. So they had stock in that one and this one, and they greenlit this movie to make it happen. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. Mm-hmm. Now, David, the writer for this film, was asked to make changes, and he said there doesn't need. He said there doesn't need to be any changes. They're like, well, we need to change this, and this. He's like, no, there's no changes needed. Thank you.
We good. Leave.
Like I said, this was Mick Garris's first feature film, and he had, of course, written a few things before this, but he had many other offers to previous movies before this movie, and he was holding out for a movie that would, give him something that would be like somewhat special effects, stunts, and like all this stuff. He said that this movie had everything, like stunts,
it's
practical effects, like everything. And he was like, fuck, this is the movie. This is the one.
That's
like,
cute.
this is going to be my movie. You know what I mean? And, but yeah, it didn't do well. it flopped essentially. And, he was not too proud about that.
I think what was his name again? Roger Ebert. This is like one of his worst films. Like
It's on his worst list.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's stupid.
It is. It really is. I was
he has
like,
a
if
list
you can't
of,
find any
like-
kind of fun in this
Yeah, have
movie,
you seen The Howling 7, you motherfucker?
That's probably fucking on there. Like, if it's not, then he hasn't seen it. But,
Oh, God.
yeah, because he has like a list. I don't know how many are on it.
He hadn't seen it because I don't think
Oh, is he dead?
I think so.
Oh, whatever. But
But
yeah,
Cisco might be alive, but
he
I
had
think
he had a list. I don't know how many movies are on it or whatever, but yeah, he has a worst cinema list, and this is definitely on there.
yeah, but there's some that are on that
Like,
list that I don't
I'm-
agree with.
Agreed.
And I've
Yeah.
seen some of them
I've
because
seen
he
a lot
had
of the
many
movies
books.
he hates, and I'm like, how do you fucking hate this? Like,
Yeah.
there's so many movies that like Roger and Ebert or whatever, like,
Siskel and Ebert.
isn't it? I thought it was
Yeah.
Roger.
Yeah,
and
Siskel
Ebert.
and Ebert was the two
really?
thumbs up.
Well, Robert Ebert, that's his name.
Is that his actual name?
That's his full
Oh,
name.
why did I think it was two different people? Maybe just because I think of the Muppets every time, like the little fucking.
You talk about the old men puppets that always like gripe during
Yes.
the opera.
Yeah.
I always think
wonder
of
if
them.
that is like a nod.
I'm
It's
pretty
like-
sure
might
it is.
be.
I
But
think
no-
it is because they were like rate movies and shit too, don't they? Like, isn't that part of what they
Well, there's
do?
a whole documentary on
I don't know, but
Siskel and Ebert.
That's who they remind me
Oh,
of.
It's
really?
really interesting, but anyway.
They're always like, they always hate movies they like.
We digress.
Dee Wallace was not asked to come back to this movie, by the way. She was never written into the second one.
Yeah, the parents in April are
They
not
probably
part of
couldn't
it.
afford her, to be
Probably
quite
not.
honest.
No, she's
Had
pretty
she
workable.
done ET? Did she do ET? She did ET already though.
Yeah, she had already done, so they thought it was a big score for her.
it is a
on
big
that.
score to
for the
get her
first
for the
movie.
first
Yeah,
one. There were
But-
a lot of big people, but they weren't all big people yet.
she said she would have done it, and there was like rumor that she might have been written in, but they didn't ask her to come back. But she said, no, I never got a call for anything. So
Well, hopefully, if they ever do another Critters movie, they don't do it like they did that one movie we went to go see.
well, they got the new Binge TV show coming out. It's called Critters: The New Binge.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Cute.
and they even showed the ball.
No.
Oh,
yay.
They have a ball.
I love the critter ball.
Yeah, dude. It's
So
not as big as the
cute.
other one. I got a story on that, too.
It's so cute, though. I loved it.
But
It's
yeah.
a ball of fluffy things.
I
It's-
can't remember the name of that fucking movie now.
So, good job, Patrick.
I
Good
know.
point.
Fucking, what a jerk.
Excellent point.
Excellent point. Indeed.
Indeed.
Have another beer, Patrick.
Indeed.
Yes.
kidding.
I think whatever.
The sheriff from the first movie, Emmett Walsh, they wanted to have back, but he didn't want to do the second one, so they had Barry Corbin do the part.
Old.
Which I think he made a better sheriff.
Dude, Corbin was badass.
I liked him better.
Right.
He's more believable.
I
'cause
like-
that
Yeah.
other guy's so fucking old.
I like both of them as an actor, but I think that the way that Emmett Walsh played it was a little too bumbly,
Yeah.
whereas Corbin did it in a more like badass way.
Yeah. He's too old man. Like every time
Right.
everything he does, it's like you know how old he is, and it's like, how the fuck is he the sheriff of this entire town?
Yeah, I definitely
he
agree
can't get
with you
anywhere
guys.
quickly.
Yeah,
Like,
it definitely had more of a Night of the Creeps kind of vibe
Yeah.
to it.
Right. Well, he's not Tom Atkins.
No, not by
And
any means, but he has more of
Yeah.
that badassery than the original.
yeah,
Mick Garris put his wife Cynthia in the movie, which she apparently wanted to be in this movie like in the worst way possible, quote unquote. So they put her in quote unquote the worst role possible. Quote. It's funny because like I'm hearing this, they're telling it. I'm like, wait, which role? Do you know which role she did? Like, think of just any side character, anything in that movie that might have been like weird. Not just like a human being. I'll give you that much.
is she the alien
In the very beginning.
that gives him
The
the
big
mission?
head alien?
Yes.
Yeah, that gives him the mission, right?
Yeah.
That alien was cool as fuck, though.
Right. Well, here's the funny
What's
thing.
the alien's name?
It looked like claymation, did it not?
a
I don't
little bit,
remember.
yeah.
I don't remember the name, but they that's his wife. She wanted to be in
I
it, and
could
he was
never
like
look at her the same after that.
and he was like,
hilarious.
I will put her in it. And she had apparently a
That
really
is a full prosthetic.
right.
Like,
She had a really thin neck. So they were like, ooh, we're going to accent this and make her head really big. They strapped her arms to her side. And
big body.
so she couldn't even like move her arms. And she was in it for like 9 hours.
awesome.
Oh, man.
And they literally used like 20 seconds of footage.
I
Yeah.
think it was like more like 2 minutes, but yeah,
Well,
might as well have been.
building those prop pieces takes for fucking ever, and just the application alone is hours. So
Yeah.
like putting it on them, and they would have done things a lot differently then too than how we have it now. It's
Right.
like fast tracked, but getting her in everything and positioned correctly, and then they gotta paint it
Yeah.
on top of actually putting it on her. Hopefully she doesn't have to go to the bathroom. Probably like 6 to 8 hours worth of like makeup and prosthetic work.
Well, they said
On
it was
her
about
alone.
9 hours.
Yeah, and then it takes probably 2 hours for the little bit for them to get her filming it.
Yeah.
And then, so that's 9 hours worth of fucking
Right.
work.
But the
for
funny,
nothing.
you know, the crazy thing
30
is
seconds.
she's actually claustrophobic.
Oh,
Ooh.
God.
So
Wait, so
and they put her in that with her arms, like I said, strapped to the sides, and they had a body on top of her body on top of another body. So she was like packed in there. It says she was in it for 8 hours. Excuse me,
like a Vienna sausage, baby.
And she actually had to take a Valium to get through it.
Ooh.
Yeah, because
Which
she
makes
was,
sense if you're
she
super
was
claustrophobic.
panicking.
Yeah.
She was like, "Please, can we? Are we done yet? Are we? You know?" And like Mick Garris is kind of laughing about it. I'm like, this is kind of sadistic a little bit. Like, "Hey, what are you doing? Remember that time you burnt the meatloaf, bitch? Get in a fucking alien." Another little fun little tidbit, by the way, is that the Kyoto brothers made Killer Clowns from Outer Space between the first Critters and the second Critters.
Have we done that movie, by the way?
I think Patrick and me and Mike did, but we didn't do things as in depth as we used to.
We should do it. I love that movie.
Oh, it's great.
I don't know if because they're doing a remake, reboot, or what are they doing with it?
I would rather do it then.
I agree. Cool. So then we'll do them together.
Right.
All right.
So, but I thought it was really cool that they were all about doing the second one of this. So a lot of people say that they're the fathers, like I said, of the Critters because of all the work that they put into actually using. In fact, the first movie, they used moose hair because they wanted to have the coarsest hair possible that would be like the quills of a porcupine. And that was the closest they could, which kind of make it really hard to use as a puppet.
Yeah.
But it also gave them more of a unique flair. And they said that the first Critters movies are better Critters than the second one, even though they got more creative.
I feel like
Well,
they
the
are
second
better
one,
than the first.
they actually added an underbelly to them. Before, they were just all fur. right?
Well, no, they had the whole underbelly on the first one too. I watched the whole making of.
Okay.
Yeah, they just said that it was a little bit harder to move them, but even then, because it ruffled up the fur,
over time,
the moose hair, it made it feel more natural. But this time, they decided to use something else so that because it didn't matter.
Yeah,
Like-
I don't think they could even really use that if that hair sat there for that long.
Right.
It's
But
gonna just solidify essentially.
one of the scenes that they have in the movie that's like one of the best, I think, and is where all the critters are rolling together.
Yeah.
Not just on the ball, but like just rolling together is because like that was a very difficult thing. Like in the first one, they had like servos, electronic remote shit that they were using on a few of them, or they would just roll them. You know, like it was just a ball of fur.
Just kick it.
Yeah, they would just like roll it out there. But this time they had it like tied to all this like metal wire and like had them rolling with an ATV dragging them behind. So they had to get like creative with it. And it was like they wouldn't all roll. They even made wheels on it so that it would roll better. But they said that they had to take the wheels off because they just broke.
Yeah.
And then it actually worked better with without the wheels. So I thought that was pretty cool. A lot of the scenes where they're actually like pulling stuff or the big ball is actually with an ATV. And they just cut it together really good. So, but they told a funny story. The Kyoto brothers told a funny story about how they had one of their interns that had to go buy supplies at the closest town. So you can imagine you're doing horror and you're getting Caro syrup and like all this shit, right? So he went off.
Where was the closest town, by the way? Did they say how far away it was?
They didn't say that, but they said they had him go off to buy supplies for the effects, and the intern was like, I want 1 large box of KY jelly and 2 large boxes of condoms to the clerk. And the clerk looked at him and all weird, I guess, and said, and the intern was like, we're having a party.
Yeah, and a case of black velvet, please.
So I just thought that was kind of funny. They were really laughing about it. And these guys, like, the Kyoto brothers have, like, that northern accent. Like, the, hey, you fucking, like, that kind of, like, I don't know. It's like it was probably like a New England accent.
Boston.
Yeah,
From
Boston
or something,
accent,
you wanna
yeah.
fight?
Like your fucking clown.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. They're really cool, though. Another thing I wanted to bring up, the explosion in this one was supposed to be 3 times as big as what you saw. I won't explain the scene exactly, but there's a meat packing plant for those of you who have seen it. We'll get into more details about that. But apparently the guy who was setting off the charges was this big burly guy. And he was like, oh, yeah, you just wait. You're going to see how fucking amazing this is. It's going to be amazing. And then he hit the button. He was like, he asked Mick Garris, he was like, do you want to push the button? And he was like, no, I don't want to fuck anything up. Like, we only have 1 shot. We can't do anything. You can't mess this up. You're the professional. You do it. So he pushes the button, and only 1 of the 3 charges went off.
Oh, no.
So that's why this explosion pales in comparison to the first one.
So he was like a real life Danny McBride explosion.
Yes,
disaster.
exactly. Yeah. From you talking about Tropic Thunder. Yeah.
God, I've seen that movie so many fucking times. It's one of my favorite movie ever.
I'm the
movies
dude
ever.
playing the dude trying to be the other dude.
I mean, it's not as good as the first movie's explosion. And man, I really wish I could have seen like how big it would have been. Like if that was just 1, times that by 3.
Exactly.
Right.
Like, can you imagine? Like, and it didn't go off because apparently the wires got burned by the fire from the first explosion because he had them rigged to time off like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, so it was
Right.
off like a fraction.
Instead, it
or
was like
whatever.
the sound clip from
Yeah,
Price is Right.
and I would- But yeah, like Mick Garris pointed it out. I'm sure he was disappointed by that, but he said it's not terrible. So, but like I mentioned
It's
before,
not. I mean, it's not the house exploding in the first
Yeah,
one. But it's
no.
it's not horrible.
dude, that one's amazing.
It's
That's like one of the
nuts.
best fucking house explosions
really good.
I've ever seen in any movie in any genre, like ever. Like I know I don't see a lot of house explosions in like romantic comedies, but let's just
there
say
should be more.
or fuck,
I would watch more romantic comedies.
or
if there was.
documentaries, I guess, but
House explosion. You know what would make this documentary about my fucking grandma great? House explosion.
just at the end,
More fire.
we blew the shit out of her fucking
More
house.
Fire. They're like, that is not historically accurate.
Those
but
tears
that's
you
fine.
saw grandma crying were real.
All of her
can't pay for
keepsakes,
that.
memories, they're gone now.
priceless.
And to make it even better, we kept all her grandpa's personal items in there, so she'd really.
We even blew up Grandpa. It was
Earn 'em
great.
all.
It was real great.
I mentioned before that the movie flopped.
Yeah.
And Mick said he poured his heart into this. You know, he said, in fact, apparently one of the heads of the New Line was actually wining and dining a potential big money investor because New Line did this movie and they were wining and dining this big, he said big money investor. And he was like, let's go to this place to eat, you know, on Hollywood Boulevard. You're going to love this place. We're going to eat. And then when we're done, would you like to go to see our new movie that's out? You know, so you could see what we do with the money. And they went after eating to the premiere. Nobody was in line.
No.
And they lost the deal because of it.
Sucks.
So apparently one of the producers, he said that he didn't tell him until 30 years later.
Oh no.
Just recently when they did the fucking the fucking behind the scenes, did he find that out?
Wow.
So he said he did it to kind of protect me, I guess. So, but the deal fell through. So you can imagine like the weight of that as a director, your first fucking film, which personally I don't think is that bad.
It's not.
But they were saying, he was like, well, maybe we just made a movie that nobody really wanted and we just greenlit it because we could.
Right. And
So
that happens.
Right.
A lot.
We'll try to go through this as quick as possible, guys. What we'll do is we're kind of going to break down sort of the movie, talk about some of our favorite scenes and things, and there's some trivia that I tucked into a lot of this that you guys are going to be like, oh, shit. Like, it's actually got some pretty fucking good trivia that while we do this, so you guys are going to stick around for this. But it starts off, a man in a mask suit is running around some sort of cave system, and he's like wearing some like goggles
Yeah,
or
what the
something.
fuck was up with that?
Yeah, well, it's to show that he's somebody's off-world, like hunting aliens or something like
Is
that.
that what it's supposed to be?
Yeah, and
Okay.
he falls back, and an alien jumps on his chest. But as immediately as it jumps on his chest, it gets shot by another masked man, and you see them open up the doors and take their helmets off, and it's Ugg first, who plays Johnny Steele from the first
That's right.
one. He's called Ugg. That's his alien name. And Charlie, who fumbles getting his helmet off and falls to the floor, of course. Because
What was the other one's name, real quick? Was it Lee?
Lee.
Lee. Yeah.
Ugly.
But they show, they show Ugg and Charlie, good old Charlie falling around like Buster Keaton, which you have to wonder, as much as we all love Charlie, why would you want that kind of liability on your
Seriously.
hands as a bounty hunter? You know what I mean? Like,
I'm sure Charlie thought the same thing because he's like, "You guys aren't going to leave me, right?" When they
Yeah,
finally
like-
go back there.
yo, dude, we got hearts and shit, but we got jobs and kids to feed, motherfucker. Like, we don't need your bumbling ass fucking tripping over a goddamn alien and
We
blowing
ain't
up
got
the
health care
spaceship.
anymore,
I always
right?
kicked him out the spaceship mid.
We lost our Obamacare, right?
Like, realistically, if you think about that, it's just a liability.
Mid-flight, I would have kicked him out of the spaceship. So.
Up, no, God,
Oops.
he wasn't wearing a seatbelt.
Good luck,
boot
bitch.
slipped.
No, but I love Charlie's character, so it was definitely good to see
I like him
him
better in this one.
Right. Oh, do you? Okay. Well, yeah, they get into his character a lot more. He's not a fucking drunk
He's not a
ass,
bumbling
too.
drunk, yeah.
Anyways, they report back to their bounty, and they mention that there's still traces of Kreitz on Earth, which is Cynthia Mick
Yeah.
Garris's wife talking to them. But Brad is taking a bus back home this time, and he's talking to the bus driver, and the bus driver mentions space porcupines, and Brad's like, oh, never heard of them.
Which
Don't
is
know what you mean.
Exactly what Mouse called them.
Space porcupines?
Yes.
That's pretty good.
So we were laughing really hard when
Didn't
the
they,
bus
like-
driver called him that. I was
Really?
like, holy shit.
There's a punk kid that shows an antique dealer a bunch of eggs, and in
Wesley.
in the Browns barn, yeah, Wesley, he trades it for a case of Meisterbräu.
Is that like the champagne of beers?
It's supposed to be like German import beer, I guess. Like, it sounds like Meisterbräu, but obviously, they're critter eggs from the first end of the first movie, and they take them back to the antique dealer's shop. What's that?
Said they're Easter eggs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sal returns, by the way, the lady who worked at the police station before. They show her working at a local newspaper. She's the assistant, and she's also like a reporter or editor or something.
She apparently got fired from the sheriff's office.
Right. Because she's not needed now that the new guy's there. But she's like, she spots Brad Brown getting off the bus, and she's like, Brad Brown is back in town. The boy who cried critter.
Yeah.
Lin Shaye, God bless her heart. I'm just kidding.
Oh, bless her heart.
But yeah, so then she runs off to go get Harv, the original sheriff, which you find out is Barry Corbin. But he's living in some fucking rundown fucking trailer, like with a rusted bucket fucking car from the like 50s or 60s. And like, and he's not sheriff now. He tells her that, and he's like, I don't give a two fucking horn what about your fucking critter and Brad Brown being in town. He wants nothing to do with it anymore. It's pretty clear. And just slams the door in her face, I think. But it's a kind of a funny dialogue. I thought it was kind of interesting to point out. But they go back to the bounty hunter spaceship, and Charlie and Ugg and the still faceless Lee, his partner, talk about going to Earth again and why Lee has no face still, because apparently he doesn't have any. He doesn't. What does he say? Like something about like not. There's not a face that feels like it fills his soul or something like that.
Shit, yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's.
But he doesn't glow green though. Like, you notice he's just like flat white.
Oh, they probably didn't add any other post effects or something.
Which was weird to me because the other one glowed green every time he wasn't.
Okay.
He didn't have a face, but this time he was just like flat.
It's kind of interesting lore, though, to know that they have to have some sort of emotional bond.
Kind of, some type of connection.
Yeah. It's kind of weird.
That
but
guy really wanted to fuck Johnny Steele.
Anyway, you get to meet Brad's grandma. She buys a bunch of eggs from the antique dealer for the church's Easter egg hunt. And
Who the fuck does this?
What?
Like,
real.
who goes to an antique dealer to buy eggs for a fucking
Well, he
Easter
called
egg
her.
hunt?
He called
did call
her.
her.
Yeah, but still. Like,
I don't
do you
know.
think the eggs are still good?
He was like this shisty fucking antique dealer who was like, I need to get rid of these eggs and sell them because I just lost a case of like white label beer.
Well, in any case, it was the most shittiest way I've ever seen a plot sewn together. Like, really. But
Yeah.
that's okay because the movie is
It makes
supposed to be
it
that
makes
way.
it cool. Like at the very least, she's like, I'll give you $20 for the whole stack, for a whole stack, and he's like, 25 and
Half.
and half a stack, and she's like, $20. He's like,
he wanted to
half
sell
a stack.
He wanted to sell them at first for like 10
10
bucks a
apiece.
pop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, eat my...
There's a little girl with her too that's like, she is given one of the eggs and a chocolate Easter egg bunny that she just happens to have with her, like Nana has one.
Yeah, she pulled it out of her ass.
Yes, she made it with her fudge.
It's been there for 100 years. But
She
That's
blows
how
on
she
it.
lures
and
the
dust.
kids into her cabin.
Jesus Christ.
that's how she lures the children.
That's when you get to see the hungry heifer. We won't
Lord.
steer you bad meal. Something like
I
that.
fucking hate that shit.
Have
Like,
yourself a moose shake.
I hated it so much.
Oh, we won't give you a bum steer.
Some shit. I don't even know.
That's
but
what
I
that-
loved it because it was so annoying,
It
I
was so
think.
I went from like the
Resonated with
song
me.
in the first movie to that one, and I was like, "Give me back to Johnny Steele! Give me back! I can't do this
Power
anymore."
of the night.
Yeah, power of the night.
So, fun fact about this little song that you guys aren't
Oh,
too,
Lord,
or that
no.
some of you are fond of.
I love it.
There's fun facts about it.
Yes, it was made by Mick Garris's wife, Cynthia.
I love the hokiness. Yeah.
So, like, she was really into it, and he liked it. And he's actually the voice of the guy talking at the end,
Oh, yeah.
where he's like, "Come on down for a moose shake or a fucking bucket of chum." Blah, 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 blah. That's him. That's Mick Garris.
For a whole cow, you fat bitch.
Wow.
What's
That's funny
I don't
thing
know.
too is that the fucking hungry heifer has a burger bar with like all the fixings and toppings, kind of like you would find at fucking
Fuddruckers.
Fuddruckers, right?
You know what it reminded me of when you started saying that shit, though? What's that comedian's name? Patton Oswalt. Oh, come on down to Black Angus.
Doors are locked out from the outside. Expletive. I shouldn't be saying that word.
Expletive.
I like that better though, because in my mind goes, "What is it?
Like some robot voice. Expletive.
What are you saying?" Like, well, they're naughty.
But
Like-
anyway, the bad boy leather jacket Wesley guy is drinking the free beer that he got from the eggs that
Which
he
is
showed.
it? What is it? It's not the beer that he wanted.
Yeah, it's just like the white label beer. It's the cheap beer that they when grocery stores had like their budget shit that they would make.
Yeah, it was
they
just
just
white
had
can,
a white
but
label, and it
said
was almost
beer on
like
it.
a big middle finger to the people that couldn't afford it.
It's Kroger beer.
Or they tried to hide it behind the fact that they didn't want to have to design the art so they could save money, but it's like that's like nothing compared to the process of making the goddamn thing. Anyway, but Wesley's macking on Megan, who's the daughter of the guy who runs the local paper.
Yeah, he's so fucking gross too. Like he comes up and like kisses her neck and shit.
Right?
You
Yeah.
don't have much other choice, and I'm like, ew, I could be a lesbian. Fuck you. Get the fuck out of here.
That's where Brad steps up and he's like, "Hey man, stop it. Just calm down." And then
this like 12-year-old.
Wesley like pushes him down on the ground like an idiot, and then he gets up and he's like doing this like karate thing where he closes his fingers other than his thumbs down,
He's a cat.
and he's like, "I've been practicing karate."
yeah,
like-
he's like a cat.
Is that what you think?
I don't know. Like, that's what it reminds me of. Like
You got the cat paws out. Watch it.
stupid.
Yeah, it's like his open palms. I'm like, what the fuck is going on
Like, it's not
here?
karate, fool.
I don't know karate, but I know crazy.
But then he gets thrown out, and of course, Megan, who is the daughter of the guy who owns the local paper, drives the truck out knowing that this is going to happen and gets in the car, and they have this big talk about why he's back in town, and he won't like fess up to the critter story because she's a reporter. And she's trying to find the story of a lifetime about the
scoop.
critters. Yeah, the scoop. And the only scoop is that, spoiler alert, they're in love.
Yeah, I got 2 scoops for you, baby.
Meanwhile, the antique dealer returns to his shop from some event. He's all dressed up in like the worst fucking suit ever. And he finds that the eggs have hatched because he put a space heater next to him. Smart move.
Yeah, around a bunch of fucking hay and shit.
Right.
Like, you fucking moron.
Yeah, that's like very unsafe.
He shouldn't even died by the critters. He should have died by negligence.
He just set on fire.
Right.
Maybe we can get mobs out there to kill him for that. I'm just kidding. You see that he sees the eggs and he's like, what the hell is going on here?
And the Sam Neill.
Yeah, what in the Sam Neill? And they bite through his shoe. That was the cool part.
Yeah.
They have these little baby critters, like
Yeah.
the little krites, little baby krites, and like it grabs his fucking like white shoes that fucking is like something
White
out of
penny
like
loafers or something.
Vacation, like National Lampoon's Vacation shoes.
Or
Like-
Fear and Loathing or some shit.
No, it reminds me. Here, Clark, here you go. I wanted you to have a pair of these beautiful shoes. You know what I mean? But he bites through it, and you see his toes are missing, and it's just like meat. And I thought it was really cool. And he like tries to grab the light or some railing up top, and he's standing on a stool, and he falls over, and they like all these krites like jump onto him. And it's like they explained how they did it. They took all of the krites, put them to monofilament, which is that practically invisible on camera film, but you can see it in the 1080p, by the way.
Right. Well, that's why I prefer to watch most movies like that on VHS.
They literally tied like, I think it was like, I don't know how many it was, like 20, 30 fucking of these things to that line, tied it to a loop on his chest and pulled it, all of them at once. So it just like scoop right all on top of him at the same time, which I thought was pretty cool.
It was definitely a good effect.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny to watch them like jump up the stair and you see him like, there was like 500 eggs or some shit. I don't know. How many do you think there were?
A lot.
Because she took half a stack, and there was like at least
There was 2 baskets worth.
Yeah,
at
like
least.
at least.
there was 3 baskets.
3 baskets?
So there was like 40.
I'm
let's just say
guessing
30 a
30
bucket
to
basket.
40.
So like 100 eggs, essentially, probably.
Essentially.
Like, where the fuck did they produce all of these?
Yeah, because you only saw the 3 eggs at the end of the first
Right.
fucking movie.
That was the tip of the iceberg,
Well,
Patrick.
is that with all of them? Did they just like they just lay eggs immediately?
Yeah, I don't know how they reproduce, but maybe we can figure it out through
Yeah.
science.
Well, maybe we are scientists.
Anyway, the girl who got the free egg from Nana is apparently the local newspaper's daughter as well as Megan's sister. And she sets the egg and her chocolate bunny next to the floor vent, and the heat causes the chocolate bunny to melt and her egg to hatch. And it's all scurrying around on the floor next to the, it's like all crazy. And did you see the mad ball under the bed?
Yeah.
I did.
For all this old folks, we know that Madballs. Actually, it's on YouTube now.
Is it?
You know, us old folks know what the fuck that is, but she's like coughing a lot, and she like wakes up and lays her leg over the side of the bed, and in walks her dad because she's been coughing, and he's like, "You okay, honey?" and steps on the critter, and it's like this green critter guts, and he's like, "Oh, your Easter candy's a real mess," and she's like, "Ew."
Ain't no candy I want to eat.
I just thought it was cute how she said that little "ew" and then it cuts. I don't know. I thought it was funny. But back at the church, the old ladies are painting the eggs for the big church Easter egg hunt for the children on the day of the resurrection, you know, to lure them into fun for church, I guess, you know. But
So you get people to come.
right. Like, I never really thought about it that way, but I guess that's why they do it. But the new sheriff walks in and says, "The Easter bunny is here." Like very begrudgingly, and he puts on the bunny suit, but he can't like seem to zip up the crotch part of it of his suit, and he's like, "Oh great, we get to see fucking the Easter bunny with his fucking tallywhacker or whatever fucking hanging out," but he's like practicing hopping, and like he sees like one of the broken eggs outside like busted open.
Yeah, it's the one that the kid broke.
Right.
He dropped it.
Oh, that's right.
And he threw it out the window. Little shit.
And then you see like 3 critters like zoop, 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 right into his suit.
Right into his dick.
And they're like all moving underneath his thing and shit. And it's like, I don't know. He's like panics and then he's like thriving, like frolicking, not frolicking. Flailing about, yeah. And then jumps through the window behind the reverend at the sermon and dies. It's like, Jesus.
It's intense.
And a Scott is there because, you know, God. And of course, because Scott Grimes, you can't beat that guy.
Jesus.
He's a Jesus freak. And of course, he puts 2 and 2 together with Megan, and he's like, "It's happening again." Like in his mind.
Like that's how they determine it.
Yeah, that's how they figure it out. He's like, "Oh my God."
The Easter bunny dove through a window.
Yeah. They didn't see him.
It's the critters.
But she's like the reporter, so she knows what's going on. But they get to the old Sheriff Harv again and tell him what happened and ask him for help. But he said, "Hell no, they voted me out. I'm getting the hell out of here."
Bye.
Like, he's like, "Fuck you kids. Like, I'm out." I mean, to be honest.
Suck my dick.
Yeah. Suck my fucking dick. I'd be like him too, to be honest.
Bye.
Like, if I had lived through that, I'd be like, "All right, y'all fucking on your own now. I don't give a shit."
I don't give 2 fucks.
What do you think I am? Fucking Rambo? You fucking dildo? I'm not no Scott Grimes, for Christ's sake. Bradley fucking Brown.
Brad Brown.
Yeah. Fuck fucking Rambo. We got Bradley Brown in town.
Fuck Rambo.
Charlie, Ugg, and Lee now land in a field, and Charlie finds a Playboy on the ground that apparently Wesley dropped when he was like driving or something out of his car or something. And Lee decides to change into Charlie, which Charlie's like, no, don't change into me, man. Don't change into me. And he holds up the fucking Playboy in the centerfold part.
One of my favorite scenes, by the way.
This is a really good scene. It includes, he changes into the girl, and it includes the staple in the centerfold.
Oh, that was funny.
I love it. Yeah,
That is
it's
cool.
So good. Well, not only that, dude, you forget about the amazing breast.
Oh, is
That transition or whatever.
Oh, dude.
Lord.
Yeah, full on.
And I thought it would have been great if she actually went to the burger shop completely nude to hunt Kreitz.
Yeah, well, right.
It would have been great.
Squirting milk all over them or something. Jesus
They obviously didn't
Christ.
have enough of like a clearance to do that.
Could you put
It
your
was
dick
just
away,
once.
Patrick? We're recording an episode here. Jesus Christ. I don't want to see your fucking pride and joy. Anyway, so this is supposed to be a PG-13 fucking movie, guys.
Right.
And they got full on boobs and nips and shit. Like Lee changes into this fucking hot porn star and fucking like Charlie's all like, "Hey, you're going to need these clothes. Like, you can't just walk off with your titties, your honkers hanging out."
Put them
Yes,
fun
you
bags
can.
away.
And this is, keep in mind, in the coldest part of the year, 3 degrees apparently. I don't know what they said. 3
That
degrees.
sucks.
I didn't know that Santa Clarita got that cold.
Those are some cold nipples.
Yeah, could cut diamonds.
Yeah, she was a man, and then she got naked, and now she's a lady.
Well, the funny thing is about this, Roxanne Hernahan, who played that girl, the woman was actually a Playboy model,
Yeah.
though her pictures did not get put out in the magazine. It was like they took the full spread, the full show, shoot with all the pictures and everything, including the centerfold, but they never ended up using it. So that the magazine of the Playboy that they had, they contacted Playboy and said, "Hey, can we use that? Can you print us up one of these and like put it together so we can use it in the movie?" So they did.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but she never actually had a copy ever put out. So when you see that nude part in there, that is technically her.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so it's like from a real Playboy model photographer and everything. So they thought that was pretty crazy they were able to get that. But the crazy thing about this, the whole fucking thing, and everybody like was really fond of her on the set because she was like just so committed to like working, and like she was like, she was beautiful, and she was just like, they said she was like super talented. I wouldn't be able to really know. But the fucked up thing is, and this is what's going to make you feel bad, is she was killed in a tragic car accident a few years after the movie released.
She died in like 93, right?
Yeah, I think so. It was like
93 or 94?
It was like, supposedly they said 3 years, so it was 91.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, she died. At this
Mick
point.
Garris was like, yeah, she had a really good career
She's
ahead
been
of
dead
her.
almost as long as I've been alive.
Like, she was just starting to take off when all that happened. And she was doing a lot of B-movie budget, stuff. But she apparently was, like, really a hard worker or something like that. So it sucks. But Brad and Megan now drive to Mr. Quigley, the antique guy, for some reason. I don't know why. As I guess they're driving by his place, and Sal jumps out in front of her.
I think so.
But that's when, like, this is the weirdest part. Like, this scene is, like, doesn't make any goddamn sense. So Sal's screaming about critters, that they're back and everything, and Brad is like, okay, well, let me knock on the door. And he goes and knocks on the door kind of hesitantly, and no one answers. He's like, I guess there's no one here, I guess. I don't know. And the door kicks open, and it's dead Mr. Quigley, with, like, a fucked up eye, and he just falls on top of Brad for some reason, dead.
I think it's just so they could use that part. I don't know.
Maybe.
Use that type of
Seems kind of weird, though, right? Like, he was eating on the
Effects.
floor. He should be, like, nothing but bones.
No,
Right.
none of that makes sense. I think they just wanted to throw in some more like effects work or something, like gore element.
It is weird, though.
Yeah, it doesn't jive.
But then that's when you see, like, all the, like, critters have grown to a larger size because I guess they've been eating him, even though you wouldn't see it in his body because he doesn't look like he's been eating at all. He just looks like he had a fight with, like, a rhino or something. I don't know. And then Megan points, and you see, like, 4 critters standing up and rolling, and he dives into the truck as they slam into the critters slam into the side and start shooting neck darts at them into the side. One even, like, bites the tire and, like, blows up to, like, a cartoon balloon.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite
Yeah,
scenes.
dude.
I loved it.
And then you see it, like, you see all the, like, they drive off, and, like, the critter balls, like, are rolling out, and you see them stop because they've run into something. It's like kind of loose, and then the camera pans down, and you see the squashed one. That's pretty cool. But they make it back to Nana, and Nana just saw a critter in the kitchen, and she runs and tries to hold the door shut as Brad and Megan come in, and this is one of my favorite scenes. Brad's all like, Nana, the critters are back. She's holding the door shut from them, trying to attack her, and she's like, no shit, Bradley! I don't know what it is about old people cussing.
Old people cussing is the best.
It's like fucking funny, you know what I mean? Like, and she's like,
It's like almost the same extent it was like babies cussing and shit. It's just so out of the norm.
fuck. I'm like, damn, children. But then she even adds to it. She's like, damn meat eaters.
yeah.
But it's fun. I don't know. I just thought it was really funny. But then they see Brad finds the bounty hunter's device, and as he's pressing it, this huge explosion pops the side of the house open again, and it shoots the critter that's about to lunge at Bradley and Megan, and you see it splattered on the wall, and like pieces of it fall down and everything. And they were like, damn, that was fast. It's like, geez. Well, yeah, they were already here, you dildo. Anyway, they show Lee, and then they go out and see Charlie, and it's like this big reunion. Brad and Charlie, and they're all hugging, like, I'm so glad to see you. And he's like, I've got, he's like, well, how long are you here for? You know what I mean? He's like, well, not long, I got to go where no man has gone before. The cosmic winds are calling me. It's like, well, it's good to see you, I guess, for however long. Fuck you, Charlie.
Later, bitch.
He's like, you drinking again? No, I gave that up a long time ago. I have a purpose now, Bradley.
I saved the world.
I still like it though. It's like it's a nice bonding moment with Charlie. But back at the Hungry Heifer, the Kreitz are wreaking havoc on it. Ugg and Lee walk in this kind of like sexualized part because they have these
big old dicks,
cannons,
dick
and they extend out, and it kind of looks like they're like dicks. It definitely does. Like there's some sort of promiscuousness to that situation. I think, right? Am I wrong? Or
no, I thought the same thing.
Okay,
You're dirty.
I mean, they were making it weird. And you're like, uh-oh.
Or was it you?
Like they're gonna fuck the Kreitz. They're gonna fuck the shit out of these Kreitz. The Kreitz are all scared, and they start firing and killing and shooting off hair of one of them.
Yeah, it was like his hair on his head. He turns and looks like he's like, bitchin'.
Yeah, it's like in the subs and the subtitles. Yeah.
It's like, I'm the fire starter, bitch.
Does he get shot? Because I don't remember if he got shot and then falls into the fryer.
No, that wasn't the guy they shot. No,
it was a different one?
It was a different one.
But that fryer scene.
I love it. That's another one of my favorite scenes, yeah.
Do you remember that? Where the fucking critter falls into the fries fryer and it's just like... It's just like this ball of...
And then you see the fucking critter that saw him go in the fryer and his eyes get all big. Like, oh, shit.
Yeah. Apparently, Mick Garris made his eyes pop out like that.
Oh, yeah.
That was like
It worked.
That was his touch.
I liked it.
And it's funny, too, because one of the writers for the website at longlivethevoid.com just did top 11 scenes, and he had critters in there. So when the one falls in, it's like writhing around in pain, and then one of the fucking critters rolls out, hits the door, doesn't make it out, rolls again, busts the door open, and jumps on a pile of people lined up like fucking bowling pins. And it makes that crack noise. Like, what? Good Lord. Like, that was a bit too much right there. That's where it starts to get a little, like, really silly, like, right off on one another.
Yeah, it gets a little bananas after this point.
But that's when they also have the time, it's time for town havoc time. People are getting chased by Kreitz, riding telephone lines, biting power lines. They rescue Megan's dad and all run for the church where all the people end up joining up. And this is where it kind of gets... a little weird, but the manager of the Hungry Heifer is all pissed off, like that all the Kreitz got shot up in their business, and he's like, "Hey, who's gonna pay for this?" And he's like really nerdy. His name is Eddie Deason.
Okay, yeah.
He's been in a lot of like 80s, 90s movies or whatever, but he's like, his goofy ass is like yelling at the hot girl who's like Lee the bounty hunter, and then she changes into fucking... Into him, yeah. And it's like, dude, I fucking love that scene. That's so great.
Let's kill Kreitz.
Kill what Kreitz? Kill what Kreitz? And he's all walking around all stupid.
And he's still in that girl's like thong and shit.
Yeah, he's like wearing the same fucking getup with the holes in the chest and shit, basically. I thought that was great. But later, Lee is standing in front of something when Charlie walks over, and he's in front of a cutout of Freddy Krueger at night, and he's about to change into
Freddy Krueger. This is one of your favorite scenes.
Yes.
You see, this is the one I was going to say.
This was like one of the greatest things in the movie for me, and also the most disappointing.
Right, because you wanted to see it happen.
Right. I was like, holy fuck,
Let's kill Kreitz, bitch.
When I was a kid, I remember thinking to myself, he's going to turn into Freddy. Oh my God, this movie's amazing. And then Charlie prevents him from fucking changing, of course. And then he changes back in. He holds up the centerfold. And
that's what we all wanted to see anyways.
But I think part of the reason that they put this in there is because it's New Line. They own the rights. This was around the time that Dream Warriors Part 3 had already been out, I guess. So... Lee walks off as the centerfold and gets surrounded by critters and eaten. And, of course, Ugg has a fucking complete breakdown, and his faces start changing, which they used like a projection or something of like all these different aliens he had changed into because they couldn't afford it.
It really wasn't a bunch. If you notice, it was just like, was that like an ape or something?
There was like a ton of stuff.
Was it?
Yeah, there was like 7 to 10 faces.
I just noticed that Johnny Steele and then like the ape picture
I don't
But
remember.
maybe
that.
there was more.
There was like beady red eye ones, and like one of them looked like fuck, what do you call it? They Live?
Okay.
Yeah.
Something like it
Yeah.
looked kind of like that. Anyway, I thought it was a unique way to do the scene because they couldn't afford it. But anyway, back at the church, there's like a little girl on a tricycle, and this part fucking blows my fucking mind. One of the guys is watching guard and says, "Get back inside, or I'll skin your little butt." Like, and then but he's all of a sudden attacked by Kreitz, and she's like in the doorway up a ramp. You know, like the handy ramp that they have at the churches or
Right,
wherever.
right.
It's like all made out of wood. And for some reason, she sees this guy get killed and decides to ride her fucking little tricycle out in the middle of the fucking dirt, whatever, and get chased by a bunch of Kreitz, which Bradley's like bitching, like punching him off. I'm like, bitch,
He's hitting him with a stick.
you know how them fucking tricycles ride on dirt? You gonna fucking eat, bitch. I don't know. I was like, why? Why is she running from the safety?
You acting like you got a big wheel and shit.
But no, but if you were a kid, would you think of running out of the wilderness? Like, I know they did it to make the scene work,
Right.
but it's just like one of those little minor
Just like the Easter egg thing. It's just like,
But because they wanted to introduce Marv, because Marv shows back up and he's like, I'm back. As he's shooting them all with fucking, what are those things called? The fucking dirty, hairy guns.
it's a revolver of some
A Magnum, a long nose Magnum or whatever. And he's like fucking killing them all. But anyway.
Could have been like Colt 45.
Yeah. Do you remember the scene after this though? Like the whole scene in the church where the whole town is like panicking and blaming Brad for some fucking reason.
The guy that's
He
so
shows back
country
up,
as
and then there's
fuck.
critters.
Right. Yeah, Brady's
He
right.
brought these damn critters back in our town.
Well, Bradley came here. We didn't have any problems until he showed up, and then the critters showed back up. It's like, well, yeah, it's just a lucky coincidence. But I guess it kind of makes sense if you're small town folk, you know?
When you're stupid.
We don't know much around these parts.
Dude, Harv's speech, or Marv's speech, is it Harv or Marv? I'm getting confused. But his little speech about bitching and being pussies. It's like, if we keep bitching and moaning and quit being pussies. Like, I thought it was funny. But they devise a plan to lure the critters into a meat packing plant and try to use the wind to have the smell, like, push them
Right.
to the meat packing plant so they'll smell the burgers and the fresh meat and shit. But you see a bunch of critters rolling around and packs following the smell until the wind changes and they smell the people now. So you see the little weather vane, the wind changes, and all of a sudden they're like following him like dangerously close, by the way. Like they probably have ears or at least eyes in their face. So they probably shouldn't be that close anyway, but the wind changes and they start chasing after the people. And one of the big ones rolls out and convinces him. He's like, hey, less bones.
Cheeseburgers.
Less
no bones.
Yeah, no bones. And they're like, cheeseburgers! Which is silly. And you're like, where the fuck is this big-ass one coming from? But the big one stops at the doors at the meatpacking plant and changes into Ugg, so you realize that it's one of the bounty hunters who had lost his shit and didn't want to fucking help them anymore because Lee died. And the meat, by the way, in this movie, in the meatpacking plant, was all real.
Ew.
They thought that they were only going to shoot that one night. They had to come back 3 days later.
So they had to buy all that meat.
They didn't have to buy new meat. They had
No,
to use the same meat.
All rancid.
Right.
They said it was cheaper to buy the meat than to make fake meat. And when they had to go back, it was like
Rancid.
dripping down and rancid on the puppets even. And that when they wrapped up that third night that they came back, they had to like spend the rest of the night cleaning the puppets.
That's horrible.
Right. So I don't know. I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing. They were like, it sucked.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure by the third night there was maggots.
Oh, I don't know, man. Like, can you imagine the smell of that just sitting there? Anyways, they blow the fucking place up like we talked about it, you know, and everybody's like waving torches and firing guns off and shit. Yay! And you hear this grumble, like this like rumbling, and this big ball of fucking critters just rolls out into the street and people scatter into the field. And that one dude,
That one unlucky guy.
that poor motherfucker, dude. He's like running like a fat piece of shit.
He's not that unfit.
I guess not, but I mean, we'll just say that anyway. I mean, I don't want to fuck him or anything, Patrick. Jesus. But he's like trying to get away from the ball and it fucking rolls over him. And this scene is one of my favorites.
Mine too.
That is like such a memorable scene to me. That's why I love this movie, is that part in particular is like this big ball of critters that form literally 10 feet high, 10 feet wide, is like rolling and just eating flesh as it rolls over people.
It's basically just like a naked skeleton at this point.
Right.
With like a little bit of skin, like muscle on it. And,
And you
that's
see
about
it
it.
shaking and shit.
Yeah. Like, it's
This
still
scene
alive.
kind of brought me back to the movie we watched a couple weeks ago, which was the Satan film.
Which one?
Which one was it? It was like Hail Satan or the Killing of
Killing of
Satan.
Satan.
The Killing of Satan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Cartoonish little flat guy. This was better, though.
Oh, for sure.
Like, you see, like, his clothes, they cut up the back and then laid it down in front of him. So you see him, like, he fell, and then his skeleton's all shaking. Apparently, like, what they said is that somebody actually accidentally, when they were walking by it, setting up the scene, bumped into the legs of the skeleton and made it shake. And Mick was like, do more of that. Do more of that. So when it rolls over him, it's almost like he's still fighting for his life.
Right. Like his nervous system's still firing.
Yeah, but there's just bones, I guess. But I thought it was kind
There's
of
a little
funny.
meat on it.
Dude, that ball, by the way, I fucking love that. But like I said, they had like 2 of those. One of them was made of like, they had like this 10-foot high thing with mouths. Like they had like scattered throughout the whole fucking thing, where they had like servos moving their mouths, opening them and closing them, and red eyes that were glowing. And they were trying to use this, like rolling it with the heads, like getting rolled on top of.
Yeah.
And then they had one that was just fur, like critter pelts, they called it. And
Critter pelts.
yeah, and they put like a canvas wrapping around it that of what do you call it, a weather balloon, and they were just pushing that. That was super easy. But the one with the faces, they wanted to use it a lot more, but they said they spent like $10,000.
You think you would have created like some kind of harness for that?
Well, they did. They created this, like, you know how they do the gyrosphere?
Right.
They kind of created something like that they could drag, that they could push it in front of a car or something. I don't know how they did it exactly. I forget. But they showed they show when they look out the window and they see that the faces, the little mouths moving,
Right.
and they look out the window. Like, they actually did do that, but they said that they didn't get to use it as much as they wanted because it was just, it was just so hard to do. But they stuck a pole through it and then
Right.
had it roll like on this thing, so they figured it out. But I don't know, I just thought it was really cool that they actually went that far to create this fucking gigantic thing.
Yeah.
And originally they wanted it to be 30 foot by 30
Sweet
foot.
Jesus, come on.
He's like, do you realize how big 30 foot is?
Right.
It's like, do you have any idea like how 30 foot is? And they were like, we can do it, but it would have been a lot of weight. It would have crushed everything. So it even dented in, like, when they tried to use the other one. But anyway, you see Brad and Megan race the ball in the truck, and then they crash, and Charlie comes flying through with his spaceship because he disappeared earlier when they started getting attacked, and it busted out. He was like, fuck this, I'm out. And you think he's just like pussying out, but he actually went to go get the spaceship so he could slam into the ball, crashing into it and killing all of them, sacrificing himself. And he screams, I'm a bounty hunter! And fucking crashes into it. And everybody's all sad. And, like, they all reel in horror and sadness. And Ugg changes into Charlie, which I thought was a little distasteful, Ugg. Honestly.
They wanted to remember him.
Yeah, I get it, but, like, yeah, it was too much. Way too much. And Brad's like, then they fast forward to the next morning, and, like, Brad's getting on the bus with the fucking sheriff, the old sheriff, Harv.
They're going to Vegas, man. They're having themselves a time.
Laughlin or something.
Yeah, he's like, come on with me, boy. We got to kiss her and get on the fucking bus, you dildo. And he's like saying goodbye to Ugg, and he's like, it was good to see you again, Ugg. Charlie. Call me Charlie. Like, okay, that's weird.
Your name's not Charlie.
Yeah, I know. He's like, okay, Charlie, or something like
fucking
that.
talented Mr. Ripley, your ass.
And then you hear some fucking commotion. You see this guy dragging a parachute behind him, and it's Charlie. He's alive! Yay! No, I mean, you are good to. It is good to know that he is alive because he is a beloved character. But he like hugs everybody and calls his space Uber, and then gets sucked up into the ship, like just magically.
And he still leaves Charlie behind.
Yeah, and he left Charlie behind. He's like, "You're not really that good of a bounty hunter. If you're gonna pull,"
he said he wasn't gonna do it. He left him there.
Yeah, he said he would never leave him behind.
Fucking lying bitch.
Right, and you think about it, it's like maybe it was because he was like, "You wasted all that money. That's an expensive ship." He could have
We
literally
can't have you crashing our ships, man.
Let's point this out. Like in the first movie, when they shoot a laser out of the goddamn spaceship, it blows up the house the size of like 50 megatons.
Why didn't you just shoot a laser at that?
Right. Why is he slamming into the shit?
He didn't know how to use the laser.
He doesn't know how to. Yeah.
So technically, Ugga's just pissed at fucking Charlie.
Bye, asshole.
He's like, all right, I'm out. And he floats up, and
I had 2 more fucking payments on that fucking thing.
And the running gag in the movie, by the way, is Brad and Megan are trying to kiss like numerous times.
Oh God, I know.
And so they find like every time they like keep getting interrupted, and then they have this really awkward kiss. Like, you're my hero, and she's like, I hope you take care, and they kiss, and it's weird. But you know what's funny though is like when fucking Ugg gets sucked up, the fucking bus driver's like, you mind?
Fuck.
Yeah. One of y'all mind telling me what the hell is going on over here? Like, yeah. It's a long story. Just drive. I'll tell you on the way to fucking Vegas, I guess.
Like, no. Like, I want to know right now. Going anywhere, you bitch.
The cool thing, though, is at the end, good old Harv, he throws the fucking badge to fucking Charlie. Charlie's like,
I wouldn't want him to be the sheriff of my fucking town. Yeah, I'm like,
I'm a sheriff.
Lord, no. I'd move. Like, bring back the critters.
I don't know. It's a
Take
nice.
me.
It's a happy ending. You know what I mean?
Lighthearted.
There's no stinger at the end or anything other than I think they said like no critters. Absolutely no critters were harmed in the making.
I like that little like. We'd like to thank the people of
Santa Clarita,
of
Grover's Bend. Yeah,
for we couldn't make this movie without them or something. I'm like, shut up. Like, you made this fucking town. Like,
yeah, that is kind of weird.
It was weird. I didn't understand.
I didn't understand it
it's
either.
Like they were trying to make it real or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
Well, maybe it was a real town to them because they said it was like a very big family atmosphere.
It was still dumb.
They all lived there pretty much.
So maybe they were just referring to the town as the cast and crew.
Thanks,
might be right.
people that made this movie.
It might have been like an inside
And just be
joke.
like, thank you, cast and crew, and get over with it. Get it over with.
You already put your fucking names on it. No, I'm just
Fucking
kidding.
A.
I honestly think this movie gets a bad rap. I don't think it's as bad. I think it's like a 7.5 versus the 8 that I would give the first one. Like, I think, and you said it goes up.
Yeah, I would say 7 then 8.
It's weird.
That's just me.
It's weird.
Hey,
Huh. Interesting. What is it? Is it the critter ball?
I think it's just a mix of everything. Like, I really like the fast food scene with all the
Hungry.
it's just good.
I won't make you guys suffer through it.
Get
Brittany,
yourself a moose shake.
and so you think
I already gave it 5.
that's terrible. I don't know. I'm surprised by that. Do you like some of those scenes though? You
Yeah.
think? Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Maybe that's what like swings me a little bit is just that the ball.
I like the ball. That was
that's
a
such an amazing
redeeming
thing
part
to
for
me. Right.
I think it was the transforming gag. They did it over and over again. They did it so well in the second one.
Right. It was so fast though. Yeah, but yeah, I see what you mean. Wait, transforming gag.
Yeah.
Yeah, like how he would transform into like the owner of the fast food joint, and then he was about to do the Freddy Krueger. But
gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like the way they did that. It just seemed like it was more prevalent in this movie.
The whole the Freddy Krueger thing, man.
Yeah, I know.
Such an
If it would have
amazing.
transformed into Freddy Krueger, I would have liked it more.
You would have been like 9 out of 10.
Not a 9 out of 10, but I would have at least got like a
12
6.
out of 10. Turn it to 11 and keep going, baby.
Zoom, zoom.
All right, guys. Well, I think that's it for the episode. I know this is an extremely long episode, but for those of you who are Critters fans and you've listened to the end, I want you to shout out in the comments, go fuck yourself. And I'll be sure to love your comment because you made it this far. You guys rock.
Hold on to your butts.
Brittany's like been trying to stay awake. Patrick's like drunk as shit.
Yeah. Hey.
He's got his dick out. I saw weird.
It's a little weird in here. It's like Uncle Grandpa.
All in the corner, inching closer to the door.
Yeah. Hey, where are you going?
Anyway, guys, I hope that you enjoyed the episode this week. We'll be back next week for Critters 3 and 4. And I hope you guys will stick around. But other than that, thanks for coming on. You're going to be coming on next week, huh?
No, I won't be here.
All right.
Boo.
Sorry, guys.
Boo.
Boo.
Shun.
Send Patrick hate mail.
Shun the non-believer.
Dox him. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I won't be on my social media because I'm
That's
the only
for you
one on my
to do.
Xbox. but
Okay.
You're
yeah.
supposed to dox him. It's your job.
Don't give him my Xbox handle, by the way.
Do it.
Revenant Shogun. Anyway, guys, hope you have a great week this week. We'll see you next week. And as always,
Stay weird, monsters.